Chapter 1655. After chatting with Qing Hu for a while, Fang Chen returned to the island master's residence. 8-8 reading. 23 inches. The mountain behind the island master's residence, Fang Chen stood quietly and looked down. He sighed in his heart. Over the years, he had witnessed the growth of Green Bamboo Island. And now, he was about to leave this place. He sighed in his heart. However, this kind of thing would come sooner or later. There was no challenge in staying in the lower realm. His strength had already reached the second place on the universe combat power list. If he activated the dark demonic wheel, even the holy lords of the human race might not be his match. He had no opponents in the lower realm, and his wife was still in the heavenly realm. He had promised Star and Moon that one day, he would go to the heavenly realm to find his wife. Now, it was time. Unknowingly, two more people had appeared at the back of the mountain. One was Princess Xin in a yellow dress, and the other was Bai Qingqing in a green dress. The two stood on either side of Fang Chen in silence. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. After a long while, Fang Chen sighed. He knew what the two women were thinking, but he pretended not to. He really couldn't promise the two women because his wife, Star and Moon, was still in his heart. Ready? Unexpectedly, the two women didn't say a word about what they were thinking. Princess Xin had a faint smile on her pretty face. Her beautiful eyes looked at Fang Chen tenderly. Fang Chen nodded and said, "I'm ready. Aren't you going to say goodbye to the others?" Bai Qingqing asked in a low voice. Fang Chen shook his head and fell into silence. Saying goodbye was easy to say, but difficult to do. In the end, Fang Chen chose to say goodbye. First, he went to see his parents on Earth. On Green Bamboo Island, his parents lived a comfortable life. They were ordinary people with no cultivation foundation, and now they had reached the Qi High Realm. Although they were the weakest on Green Bamboo Island, no one dared to underestimate them. Fang Chen had arranged many guards for the two of them, and he had also left 2 strands of consciousness on them. Even the great beings on the universe combat power list couldn't kill the two of them. The two elders also understood Fang Chen very well. Ever since they came to Green Bamboo Island and saw the different worlds here, they had become very familiar with Fang Chen. The two elders were very supportive of Fang Chen. They even encouraged him to go to the God realm as soon as possible and make a name for himself. Fang Chen was very moved. He hugged the two elders and remained silent for a long time. After bidding farewell to the two elders, Fang Chen found Luo Liuli and Fang Tianyu. The two of them were no longer on Green Bamboo Island but in the Luo clan. Ever since the crisis of the void creatures was resolved, the Luo clan's sacred land accepted Fang Tianyu. Right now, Fang Tianyu was happily living with Luo Liuli. Luo Liuli was very reluctant to part with Fang Chen, but at her level, she naturally understood. On the path of martial arts, the ultimate goal should be to pursue the peak of martial arts. It wasn't easy for her son to step into the divine realm, so as a mother, she naturally had to congratulate him. It took Fang Chen a day to say goodbye to his family. After that, he quietly went to Silver Moon City and the place where the black-white heavenly lords lived in seclusion and left some cultivation resources. After the two girls knew about it, they were speechless for a long time. They secretly swore that they would definitely step into the God realm in the future. The villagers of Saint's Village had completely integrated into the life on Green Bamboo Island. Moreover, there was the coiling moon fairy cave left by Fang Chen. It could be said that the villagers of Saint's Village were very safe. Moreover, their strength was increasing at a very fast speed. Fang Chen left 60% of the resources in his Sumeru ring. Although it was only 60% of the resources, it was enough to shock people. After everything was arranged, Fang Chen bid farewell to the old faker. Then, he set off to meet up with his clone. Realm Lord Fu Mo personally sent his clone to meet up with him. On the void ocean, the waves were turbulent. Fang Chen and Realm Lord Fu Mo looked at each other. Both of their eyes were full of smiles. I really didn't expect this day to come so soon. Realm Lord Fu Mo smiled. Yes, even I didn't expect that I would step into the God realm after so many years. Fang Chen said. In fact, his experience was also legendary. However, It was also the result of hard work. Fang Chen, you are the most outstanding genius I have ever seen in this universe era. Once you enter the God realm, you must endure until your strength has increased to a certain level. Only then can you save my original body. Realm Lord Fu Mo exhorted. He was very optimistic about Fang Chen, so he didn't want Fang Chen to take the risk. Huala. Realm Lord Fu Mo waved his hand, and a message drilled into Fang Chen's mind. However, he couldn't see it. You will be able to see this message when you enter the immemorial realm. Remember, even if you reach the immemorial realm, don't be careless. The God realm is different from the lower worlds. The competition there is more intense and cruel. The slightest carelessness can lead to death. Also, before you have absolute strength, don't expose our identities. Otherwise, you will be killed. Realm Lord Fu Mo continued. I will. From a small sect in the ancient Sword Continent's Divine Wind Nation, they had grown to where they were today. After experiencing so much, Fang Chen was different from his peers. He knew his limits. Moreover, this was the legendary God realm. It was the place where all the experts had gathered for countless years. It was the most prosperous place for martial arts, and also the place that martial artists yearned for the most. My original body is trapped, and my clone has been in the lower worlds for too long. Therefore, I don't know the current situation of the God realm. After so many years, the structure of the God realm must have changed dramatically. After you enter the God realm, the first thing you should do is to find out the specific situation. Realm Lord Fu Mo said. Fang Chen nodded. Realm Lord Fu Mo had said everything that needed to be said. In the end, he glanced at Fang Chen and said, do you really not plan to leave your clone in the lower worlds? In fact, there were many examples of leaving one's clone in the lower worlds while the original body went to the God realm. Most martial artists were afraid that the God realm would be too dangerous and cause both their original body and clone to be destroyed. Therefore, leaving one's clone in the lower worlds could be considered a form of insurance. Fang Chen shook his head. It wasn't that he hadn't thought of this problem. But in the end, he still decided to bring his clone to the God realm. He had his own reasons for doing so. All right, I won't force you. Realm Lord Fu Mo said and prepared to send Fang Chen to the Heaven Continent. However, at this moment, a few ripples appeared in the sky, and then the 5 giants appeared. Fang Chen, let us send you on your last journey. The human race's holy master smiled. Don't worry about entering the God realm. We will help you take care of Green Bamboo Island. The group of 7 headed to the Heaven Continent. These 7 people were the 7 strongest people in the lower worlds. They were also the undisputed 7 on the universe's combat power ranking. The Heaven Continent was still so old and had a deep foundation. The group of 7 arrived at the Heaven Continent. Stepping on the Heaven Continent again, Fang Chen's heart was in turmoil. Huala. As soon as he arrived, the golden heart started beating rapidly. In an instant, the heaven's edge appeared. Fang Chen cupped his fists to bid farewell to everyone and jumped into the heaven's edge behind the vortex. Is that the heaven's edge? Yuan Jiyu looked at it seriously. When can we enter the God realm? Black Blade Monarch asked. This kind of thing can't be forced. Let's leave it to fate. The human race's holy master said indifferently. In the heaven's edge, Fang Chen floated in the sky. The gate of guidance appeared. The golden heart beat faster and faster, emitting layers of golden halos that surrounded Fang Chen. Boss. Little Mouse was a little nervous. Stay in the Sumeru ring. Don't move. Fang Chen said. In fact, Fang Chen wasn't sure if the Sumeru ring could bring Little Mouse into the God realm. However, he had to give it a try. God realm, I'm coming. After making all the preparations, Fang Chen stepped out and entered the gate of guidance. Dong. At the same time, the entire lower worlds trembled. The power of the universe descended and covered the entire Heaven Continent. In an instant, the gate of guidance disappeared, and the heaven's edge also disappeared without a trace. On the Heaven Continent, the human race's holy master and the other 6 giants looked at each other, shocked. After this, the Green Bamboo Island master became a legendary existence in the lower worlds. Only a few people knew that he had entered the God realm, and most martial artists didn't know. Green Bamboo Island was still peaceful. However, on a mountain peak, Princess Xin and Bai Qingqing's beautiful eyes looked through the void in the direction of the Heaven Continent. Chapter 1656. After recompiling the Universe Combat Power List, the powerhouses left one after another. Only Realm Lord Fu Mo stayed behind to talk to Fang Chen alone. Realm Lord Fu Mo had taken good care of Fang Chen during his growth. Without him, he wouldn't have been able to achieve what he had now. Moreover, he had promised to find a way to save Realm Lord Fu Mo's true body after entering the God Realm. Fang Chen. Realm Lord Fu Mo was very satisfied with Fang Chen. The latter's growth was beyond his expectations. I thought it would take at least 100 years for you to enter the God Realm, but I underestimated you. However, I underestimated your strength. I didn't expect that in such a short time, you would be qualified to enter the God Realm. Realm Lord Fu Mo sighed. He wasn't a match for Fang Chen in a one-on-one fight. He had watched Fang Chen's battle. His concealment skills weren't something ordinary people could compare to. Of course, if he used a hammer, the outcome would be hard to predict. Realm Lord, when I enter the God Realm, I will do my best to help you save my true body, Fang Chen said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Realm Lord Fu Mo nodded in satisfaction. Before you enter the God Realm, if there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me, said Realm Lord Fu Mo. This is all I can help you with. Hearing Realm Lord Fu Mo's words, Fang Chen was really puzzled and wanted to ask about it. Realm Lord, I do have something to ask. Fang Chen cupped his fists. Is there a space-time law in this world? The scene of that day appeared in Fang Chen's mind. The grey aura surrounding the space-time law was very shocking. It seems you still know too little about laws and rules, said Realm Lord Fu Mo. Let me explain it to you in detail. Laws and rules are the foundation of the universe's order. Laws are supreme, and laws are inferior. There are countless laws in the universe, but there are only 6 kinds of laws. Realm Lord Fu Mo's voice was very heavy when he spoke of laws. 6 types of laws? Fang Chen asked, puzzled. That's right. Since the beginning of time, since the birth of the universe, the order of the universe has never changed. There are countless laws, but there are only 6 types of laws. They are the only 6 types, and they are irreplaceable. Realm Lord Fu Mo said. What are the 6 rules? Time, space, destruction, creation, reincarnation, fate. These 6 laws have existed since time immemorial. Realm Lord Fu Mo said, and the space-time law you speak of doesn't exist at all. When it comes to time and space, there are only laws. Hearing this, Fang Chen was shocked. The 6 great laws that had existed since ancient times. Just hearing about them made one's blood boil. However, the rules are still too far away for you. What you need to do now is focus on comprehending the laws. The more, the better. Realm Lord Fu Mo's voice pulled Fang Chen back from his shock. He frowned slightly and then said, Realm Lord, then tell me, are there any martial artists who can skip the laws and directly comprehend the laws? Realm Lord Fu Mo raised his eyebrows and said, they should only exist in legends. Perhaps you'll know the answer when you go to the God world. Fang Chen nodded, but he was even more confused about the aura in his body. What exactly was it? He could clearly feel that it wasn't the aura of true intent, but he didn't know what it was for the time being. Next, Fang Chen asked some questions about cultivation. In the end, Realm Lord Fu Mo left. He told Fang Chen that his clone couldn't enter the God world for the time being. Perhaps one day, they would meet in the God world. Not long after Realm Lord Fu Mo left, a group of acquaintances came to Green Lake Island. Fang Chen wasn't surprised at all. After all, his old friends and acquaintances would come to Green Bamboo Island to look for him because of his reputation. The Sky Puppet Race. Fang Chen spread out his divine sense and found that the newcomers were from the Sky Puppet Race. The leader was the patriarch of the Sky Puppet Race. At the edge of Green Bamboo Island, a group of Heaven Puppet Race clansmen had just stepped onto Green Bamboo Island under the lead of their patriarch. Patriarch, do you think Island Lord Green Bamboo will help us? Although Island Lord Green Bamboo joined our Sky Puppet Race, he's high and mighty now. He probably looks down on us. Sigh, we have no choice but to ask Island Lord Green Bamboo for help. Don't talk about it. Wait until we see Island Lord Green Bamboo, the Sky Puppet Race's patriarch said. Whoosh. Fang Chen's figure appeared out of nowhere. Everyone, my good friend won't see you, Fang Chen said with a smile on his face. Greetings, Island Lord Green Bamboo. The Sky Puppet Race's patriarch led the group and cupped their fists. Fang Chen waved his hand and said, there's no need to be so reserved. Seeing Fang Chen's gentle attitude, the Sky Puppet Race's members relaxed. Island Lord, we came here to ask for a favor, the Sky Puppet Race's patriarch said directly. The Sky Puppet Race treated me well in the past, and my good brother Qing, who is also a member of the Sky Puppet Race. Speak. As long as I can help, I will not sit by and do nothing, Fang Chen said with a nod. Hearing this, the Sky Puppet Race's members rejoiced. It seemed that this trip to Green Bamboo Island wasn't in vain. Island Lord, we came here for Qing Hu, the patriarch said helplessly. What happened to Qing Hu? Fang Chen hurriedly asked. Qing Hu is the most outstanding genius of our Sky Puppet Race. He has thoroughly studied the Tao of puppetry of the Sky Puppet Race. After that, Qing Hu brought us to the outside world because the cultivation resources in the Heaven Puppet Race's old site were extremely lacking. After several months, our Sky Puppet Race finally found a place to settle down on an uninhabited island in the Old Flower Islands. Who would have thought that danger would descend at this time? Several life and death realm experts took a fancy to our Tao of puppetry and held Qing Hu hostage, forcing him to refine puppets day and night. They even threatened us to go out and search for materials. If we were delayed, our entire Sky Puppet Race would be annihilated. At this point, the Sky Puppet Race's patriarch's heart was filled with resentment, but there was nothing he could do. In other words, Brother Qing Hu has been held hostage, Fang Chen said gravely. The patriarch of the Sky Puppeteer Race said, he's been held hostage for about 5 years. During this time, Qing Hu has been refining puppets. Because of this, his Yuan spirit has been damaged and his cultivation has dropped. It's a tragic sight. Boom. A terrifying aura erupted from Fang Chen's body. The Sky Puppet Race's patriarch immediately felt incomparably pressured and involuntarily retreated. Where are they? Fang Chen asked. They're in the Old Flower Islands. The Sky Puppet Race's patriarch told Fang Chen the location. The latter said, you can stay at Green Bamboo Island for now. I'll go save Qing Hu. After saying that, Fang Chen's figure disappeared. Old Flower Islands, in a remote area. There was an uninhabited island here that was verdant and lush. There was a plaza at the center of the island. In the square, a martial artist with his ribs chained was refining a puppet. He was battered and exhausted. His hair was disheveled, and his mind was dispirited. His life force was gradually fading away. When will these days come to an end? Qing Hu was in great pain. He had thought of self-detonating countless times, but in the eyes of a life and death realm expert, he didn't even have the ability to do so. Don't be lazy. Hurry up and work. Just as Qing Hu was thinking, a whip viciously lashed out at Qing Hu's body. Qing Hu's back immediately split open, and he was in great pain. Helpless, Qing Hu could only continue refining puppets. The life and death realm expert standing in the distance looked at Qing Hu and sneered. Chimph, trash like you dares to say that you're good brothers with Green Bamboo Island Lord? If you're Green Bamboo Island Lord's brother, then I'm Green Bamboo Island Lord's father. Clearly, this life and death realm expert didn't believe him. Green Bamboo Island Lord was high and mighty. Apart from the human race's holy lords, no one in the lower realms could match him. How could he know a nobody like him? If you don't want to die, hurry up and work. Holding the whip, the life and death realm expert berated. Also, the time limit for your Sky Puppet Race's other groups is almost up. If they can't make it back in time, you'll definitely die. Qing Hu endured the humiliation and continued refining puppets with great difficulty. After refining day and night for several years, cracks had appeared on his Yuan spirit, and his life force was fading away. Right now, he was living a life worse than death. When Fang Chen arrived at this desolate island, he just happened to see the life and death realm expert whipping Qing Hu. Chapter 1657. Seeing Qing Hu in such a sorry state, Fang Chen's eyes turned scarlet. His fury directly caused the sky to change color. Qing Hu. Fang Chen let out a deep voice. He floated in the sky and walked towards the center of the island. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled on this desolate island. The Life and Death Realm Emperor who had whipped Qing Hu frowned, not knowing what was going on. What's going on? In an instant, several other Life and Death Realm Emperors rushed over. What a powerful aura! There seems to be an expert nearby. Could it be the helpers of the Sky Puppet race? What's there to be afraid of? So what if the Sky Puppet race found helpers? The Life and Death Realm Emperors stabilized themselves and raised their heads. Suddenly, they saw a shocking scene. A young cultivator bathed in lightning was slowly walking over in the sky. This scene created a very strong visual impact. That is, the Life and Death Realm Emperor with the whip had a surprised expression as he asked coldly, "Let's go over." In an instant, the Life and Death Realm Emperors arrived at Qing Hu's location. Qing Hu, who had sunk into despair, sensed the changes in the sky and tried his best to raise his head. He was stunned by what he saw. For so many years, he had been trapped here, living a life worse than death. If there was anything he was looking forward to, it would be Green Bamboo Island Lord. "Brother Fang!" Qing Hu roared in a hoarse voice. His face was filled with an excited smile. Fang Chen had really come. This meant that the Sky Puppet race had succeeded. He was very excited. Dong. Bathed in lightning, Fang Chen quickly walked over. In the sky, terrifying thunderbolts continuously bombarded his body. Lightning flickered around his body as a terrifying aura spread out. Fang Chen arrived at Qing Hu's side and waved his hand. Immediately, all the chains binding Qing Hu broke. "Qing Hu, I'm late." Fang Chen supported the injured Qing Hu and said in a deep voice, "Brother Fang, I didn't expect to see you again." Qing Hu's face was filled with joy. However, his primordial spirit had been severely damaged after all these years of refining puppets. After seeing Fang Chen, he immediately relaxed. Immediately, an even bigger crack appeared on his primordial spirit and he fell unconscious. Fang Chen supported Qing Hu as a powerful force emerged from his body and poured into Qing Hu's body. After ensuring that Qing Hu's life was not in danger, Fang Chen asked the little mouse to guard him. As for himself, his cold gaze landed on the few Life and Death Realm Emperors who were rushing over. "Brat, who are you? You dare to come here and ruin our business?" The whip-wielding Life and Death Emperor loudly berated. The others also threatened Fang Chen one after another. Some Life and Death Realm Emperors were even prepared to attack. "He's my brother." Fang Chen pointed at the unconscious Qing Hu and said in a deep voice. At this point, Fang Chen's expression changed drastically. He roared furiously, "How dare you treat him like this? Brat, you can't even protect yourself, and you still want to save your brother? What a joke." The whip-wielding Life and Death Realm Emperor sneered. He thought that Fang Chen was just a random helper that the Heaven Puppet race had found. "You can die now." Fang Chen looked at the whip-wielding Life and Death Realm Emperor and said slowly. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared into the void. The few Life and Death Realm Emperors looked at each other in dismay, searching for him. Poochie. Fang Chen's palm appeared out of nowhere and directly pierced through the whip-wielding Life and Death Realm Emperor's chest. Then, the Emperor's heart was crushed. Voila! In the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint, Fang Chen returned to the distance and stood there quietly. Bang! Holding the whip, the previously arrogant Life and Death Sovereign Emperor fell to the ground, devoid of any signs of life. This sudden change made the remaining Life and Death Realm Emperor's expressions change drastically. A trace of fear actually appeared in their hearts. "Who are you?" the leading Life and Death Realm Emperor asked in horror. "Green Bamboo Island Lord." Fang Chen reported his name. Immediately, the faces of the Life and Death Realm Emperors turned pale as they retreated. "Your Green Bamboo Island Lord. Run." They had already personally experienced Fang Chen's methods. Even if they fought alone, they wouldn't be able to kill their companions so quickly. Therefore, when Fang Chen said that he was Green Bamboo Island Lord, they didn't doubt him at all. One of them even roared. Soon after, several figures scattered, preparing to flee. You want to flee? Fang Chen didn't plan to let them go. If he let such scum go, who knew how many more people would suffer? Voila! Using the time book, Fang Chen's speed reached the extreme as he punched out several times. Bang! Bang! Wherever the fist light passed, the life and death realm emperors immediately screamed before their corpses fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, the few life and death realm emperors were all killed by Fang Chen. To Fang Chen, killing them was like cutting vegetables. Then, Fang Chen quickly arrived beside Qing Hu. Boss, Qing Hu's Yuan spirit is severely damaged, but his life isn't in danger. Little Mouse said. Fang Chen nodded and said, I'll think of a way to recover his Yuan spirit. Let's return to Green Bamboo Island first. After saying that, Fang Chen and Little Mouse brought Qing Hu back to Green Bamboo Island. The desolate island became completely desolate. Although the Sky Puppet Race's clansmen had settled down, their hearts were no longer on Green Bamboo Island. In the courtyard, the Sky Puppet Race's patriarch sat on a stone bench with a gloomy expression. It was unknown what he was thinking about. As for the other clansmen, they were pacing back and forth with heavy hearts. Patriarch, will Qing Hu be all right? I wonder if Green Bamboo Island Lord can successfully save Qing Hu. Just as the atmosphere was extremely heavy, Fang Chen returned. The patriarch immediately stood up and quickly went to welcome Fang Chen. When he saw Fang Chen supporting Qing Hu, his eyes turned red, and he was extremely excited. Qing Hu. The patriarch received Qing Hu and cheered. On the side, many Sky Puppet Race's clansmen cupped their fists and thanked Fang Chen. Thank you so much. Fang Chen waved his hand to indicate that there was no need for this. Then he said, Brother Qing Hu has been forced to refine puppets these past few years, causing his Yuan spirit to be damaged. Fortunately, his life is not in danger. Everyone, don't worry. I will do my best to help Brother Qing Hu recover his Yuan spirit. Hearing Fang Chen's promise, the Sky Puppet Race's clansmen were overjoyed. 3 days later, Qing Hu woke up leisurely. In these 3 days, Fang Chen had fed him a lot of spirit pills and miraculous medicines, which also played a great role. Although Qing Hu's primordial spirit had not fully recovered, the hidden injuries on his body were completely healed. He's awake. The Sky Puppet Race's clansmen stood in the room and stared at Qing Hu. In front of the bed, Fang Chen was taking Qing Hu's pulse. Brother Fang. Qing Hu wanted to get up, but he was stopped by Fang Chen. Brother Qing Hu, rest well for now, Fang Chen said. Qing Hu nodded, feeling warm in his heart. After so many years, Fang Chen had become one of the peak experts of the lower realms, and he was a prisoner. On the other hand, he was just a prisoner. Yet, Fang Chen was actually willing to kill a life and death realm monarch for him. He, Qing Hu, would never forget this kindness. As if guessing Qing Hu's thoughts, Fang Chen chuckled, don't think too much. You should recuperate well. The Qing Hu I knew in the past was not so sentimental. Hearing this, Qing Hu nodded heavily. Actually, the hellish torture over the past few years had both advantages and disadvantages for Qing Hu. The disadvantage was that refining puppets for a long time had seriously injured his Yuan spirit. The benefit was that refining puppets day and night had made Qing Hu's accomplishments in the Tao of puppets even more outstanding. The current him had completely grasped the Tao of puppets of the Sky Puppet Race, and he even had a lot of his own comprehensions. Qing Hu believed that it wouldn't be long before he could lead the Sky Puppet Race to rise again in the lower realms. There were joys and sorrows. However, Qing Hu was an optimistic person. The damage to his Yuan spirit wouldn't affect his life. Moreover, he could slowly recuperate. Strictly speaking, it wasn't a big deal. In just half a month, Qing Hu could already move freely. Seeing this scene, Fang Chen was very happy. Brother Fang. In the past few days, Fang Chen had been preparing to head to the Sky Continent. Qing Hu found the latter with a smile on his face. Chapter 1658. After chatting with Qing Hu for a while, Fang Chen returned to the Island Master's residence. In the mountain behind the Island Master's residence, Fang Chen stood quietly and looked down. He sighed in his heart. Over the years, he He had witnessed the growth of Green Bamboo Island. And now, he was about to leave this place. He sighed in his heart. However, this kind of thing would come sooner or later. There was no challenge in staying in the lower realm. His strength had already reached the second place on the universe combat power list. If he activated the dark demonic wheel, even the holy lords of the human race might not be his match. He had no opponents in the lower realm, and his wife was still in the heavenly realm. He promised Star and Moon that one day, he would go to the heavenly realm to find his wife. Now, it was time. Unknowingly, 2 more people had appeared at the back of the mountain. One was Princess Xin in a yellow dress, and the other was Bai Qingqing in a green dress. The 2 stood on either side of Fang Chen in silence. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. After a long while, Fang Chen sighed. He knew what the 2 women were thinking, but he pretended not to. He really couldn't promise the 2 women because his wife, Star and Moon, was still in his heart. Ready? Unexpectedly, the 2 women didn't say a word about what they were thinking. Princess Xin had a faint smile on her pretty face. Her beautiful eyes looked at Fang Chen tenderly. Fang Chen nodded and said, "Yes, I'm ready. Aren't you going to say goodbye to the others?" Bai Qingqing asked in a low voice. Fang Chen shook his head and fell into silence. Saying goodbye was easy to say, but difficult to do. In the end, Fang Chen chose to say goodbye. First, he went to see his parents on Earth. On Green Bamboo Island, his parents lived a comfortable life. They were ordinary people with no cultivation foundation, and now they had reached the Qi High Realm. Although they were the weakest on Green Bamboo Island, no one dared to underestimate them. Fang Chen had arranged many guards for the 2 of them, and he had also left 2 strands of consciousness on them. Even the great beings on the universe combat power list couldn't kill the 2 of them. The 2 elders also understood Fang Chen very well. Ever since they came to Green Bamboo Island and saw the different worlds here, Fang Chen had been very careful. The 2 elders were very supportive of Fang Chen. They even encouraged him to go to the God realm as soon as possible and make a name for himself. Fang Chen was very moved. He hugged the 2 elders and remained silent for a long time. After bidding farewell to the 2 elders, Fang Chen found Luo Liuli and Fang Tianyu. The 2 of them were no longer on Green Bamboo Island but in the Luo clan. Ever since the crisis of the void creatures was resolved, the Luo clan's sacred land accepted Fang Tianyu. Right now, Fang Tianyu was happily living with Luo Liuli. Luo Liuli was very reluctant to part with Fang Chen, but at her level, she naturally understood. On the path of martial arts, the ultimate goal should be to pursue the peak of martial arts. It wasn't easy for her son to step into the divine realm, so as a mother, she naturally had to congratulate him. It took Fang Chen a day to say goodbye to his family. After that, he quietly went to Silver Moon City and the place where the black-white heavenly lords lived in seclusion and left some cultivation resources. After the 2 girls knew about it, they were speechless for a long time. They secretly swore that they would definitely step into the God realm in the future. The villagers of Saint's Village had completely integrated into the life on Green Bamboo Island. Moreover, there was the coiling moon fairy cave left by Fang Chen. It could be said that the villagers of Saint's Village were very safe. Moreover, their strength was increasing at a very fast speed. Fang Chen left 60% of the resources in his Sumeru ring. Although it was only 60% of the resources, it was enough to shock people. After everything was arranged, Fang Chen bid farewell to the old faker. Then, he set off to meet up with his clone. Realm Lord Fu Mo personally sent his clone to meet up with him. On the void ocean, the waves were turbulent. Fang Chen and Realm Lord Fu Mo looked at each other. Both of their eyes were full of smiles. I really didn't expect this day to come so soon. Realm Lord Fu Mo smiled. Yes, even I didn't expect that I would step into the God realm after so many years. Fang Chen said. In fact, his experience was also legendary. However, it was also the result of hard work. Fang Chen, you are the most outstanding genius I have ever seen in this universe era. Once you enter the God realm, you must endure until your strength has increased to a certain level. Only then can you save my original body. Realm Lord Fu Mo exhorted. He was very optimistic about Fang Chen, so he didn't want Fang Chen to take the risk. Huala. Realm Lord Fu Mo waved his hand, and a message drilled into Fang Chen's mind. However, he couldn't see it. You will be able to see this message when you enter the immemorial realm. Remember, even if you reach the immemorial realm, don't be careless. The God realm is different from the lower worlds. The competition there is more intense and cruel. The slightest carelessness can lead to death. Also, before you have absolute strength, don't expose our identities. Otherwise, you will be killed. Realm Lord Fu Mo continued. I will. From a small sect in the ancient Sword Continent's Divine Wind Nation, they had grown to where they were now. After experiencing so much, Fang Chen was different from his peers. He knew his limits. Moreover, this was the legendary God realm. It was the place where all the experts had gathered for countless years. It was the most prosperous place of martial arts and the most desirable place for martial artists. My original body is trapped, and my clone has been in the lower worlds for too long. Therefore, I don't know the current situation of the God realm. After so many years, the structure of the God realm must have changed dramatically. After you enter the God realm, the first thing you should do is to find out the specific situation. Realm Lord Fu Mo said. Fang Chen nodded. Realm Lord Fu Mo said everything he needed to say. In the end, he glanced at Fang Chen and said, Do you really not plan to leave your clone in the lower worlds? In fact, there were many examples of leaving a clone in the lower worlds while the original body went to the God realm. Most martial artists were afraid that the God realm would be too dangerous and lead to the destruction of both their original body and clone. Therefore, leaving a clone in the lower worlds was also a form of insurance. Fang Chen shook his head. It wasn't that he hadn't thought of this problem. But in the end, he still decided to bring his clone with him to the God realm. He had his own reasons for doing so. All right, I won't force you. Realm Lord Fu Mo said and prepared to send Fang Chen to the Heaven Continent. However, at this moment, a few ripples appeared in the sky, and then the 5 giants appeared. Fang Chen, let us send you on your last journey. The human race's holy master smiled. Don't worry about entering the God realm. We will take care of Green Bamboo Island for you. The group of 7 headed to the Heaven Continent. These 7 people were the 7 strongest people in the lower worlds. They were also the undisputed 7 on the universe's combat power ranking. The Heaven Continent was still so old and had a deep foundation. The group of 7 arrived at the Heaven Continent. Stepping on the Heaven Continent again, Fang Chen's heart was in turmoil. Huala. As soon as he arrived, the golden heart started beating rapidly. In an instant, the heaven's edge appeared. Fang Chen cupped his fists to bid farewell to everyone and jumped into the heaven's edge behind the vortex. That's the heaven's edge. Yuan Jiyu looked at it seriously. When can we enter the God realm? Monarch Blackblade asked. This kind of thing can't be forced. Let's leave it to fate. The human race's holy master said indifferently. In the heaven's edge, Fang Chen floated in the sky. The gate of guidance appeared. The golden heart beat faster and faster, emitting layers of golden halos that surrounded Fang Chen. Boss. Little Mouse was a little nervous. Stay in the Sumeru ring. Don't move. Fang Chen said. In fact, Fang Chen wasn't sure if the Sumeru ring could bring Little Mouse into the God realm. However, he had to give it a try. God realm, I'm coming. After making all the preparations, Fang Chen stepped out and entered the gate of guidance. Dong. At the same time, the entire lower worlds trembled. The power of the universe descended and covered the entire Heaven Continent. In an instant, the gate of guidance disappeared, and the heaven's edge also disappeared without a trace. On the Heaven Continent, the human race's holy master and the other 6 giants looked at each other, shocked. After this, the Green Bamboo Island master became a legendary existence in the lower worlds. Only a few people knew that he had entered the God realm, and most martial artists didn't know. Green Bamboo Island was still peaceful. However, on a mountain peak, Princess Xin and Bai Qingqing's beautiful eyes looked through the void in the direction of the Heaven Continent. Chapter 1659. The door of guidance was a passageway that connected the divine world and the lower realm. This passageway was very sturdy. Even the space turbulence couldn't destroy it. After entering the door of guidance, Fang Chen felt as if he had arrived in the void of chaos. He was surrounded by a dark void, and stars streaked across his eyes. Is this the door of guidance? Fang Chen muttered to himself. Soon, he felt that something was wrong. Buzz. Suddenly, a terrifying power emerged from the door of guidance. This terrifying power invaded his body. What's going on? Fang Chen struggled and said in a low voice. The attack of the terrifying power was instantly blocked by the golden halo. At this moment, the golden heart erupted with an incredible power, and the golden luster on his body shone brightly. Suddenly, all the terrifying power was blocked. Fang Chen was slightly stunned, but he immediately revealed a smile. He could feel that the Sumeru ring was also being attacked, but fortunately, there was the golden halo. How is it? Fang Chen transmitted his voice to Little Mouse. Boss, I feel like I'm about to suffocate. Little Mouse's voice was a little hurried. Hold on for a little longer, Fang Chen said. As time passed, Fang Chen guessed that this terrifying aura should be a test for martial artists. The underworld knight that he met in the edge of heaven last time should have died under this terrifying power. Thinking of this, Fang Chen took a deep breath. He had underestimated the door of guidance. He thought that he could enter the divine world by stepping into the door of guidance. Fortunately, I have the golden heart, Fang Chen said to himself. At the same time, he was also looking forward to it. After entering the divine world, he should be able to find out the origin of the golden heart. Just like this, Fang Chen was wrapped in the golden halo and drifted for a long time in the door of guidance. The divine world was vast and boundless. It was an incomparably vast space. Since the birth of the divine world, it had gone through 18 epochs. From its birth until now, countless powerhouses had emerged. There were many powers that had once flourished for a period of time, but as time passed, they gradually fell apart. Prosperity, decline. This was the law of the God realm. Almost all forces had to abide by this law. However, there were a few extremely powerful powers that made one's expression change at the mere mention of them that had existed since ancient times. These forces had existed since the birth of heaven and earth. Over the past 18 epochs, it had never declined. It had always been strong and prosperous, leading the God realm forward. The divine world and hell were vast, and the number of martial artists in the divine world was innumerable. Here, there were many talented martial artists who had ascended from the lower realm. There were also native experts of the divine world. In short, the divine world was a place where experts gathered. In the vast God realm, there were 7 top powers. Of the 7 major powers, 6 of them had existed since ancient times. Furthermore, they were also native powers of the divine realm. As for the remaining major force, there were differing opinions. The reason why this great force was so shocking was because it was established by people who ascended from the lower realm. In the divine realm, martial artists who ascended from the lower realms would be ostracized. Many native martial artists looked down on martial artists from the lower realms. However, the appearance of the bone progenitor broke the balance of the divine world that had existed for 18 epochs. The 6 major powers each guarded an area and did not invade each other. However, when the unknown bone progenitor established a force, it rapidly expanded its territory. In the beginning, the 6 major powers did not care at all. There were countless small forces in the divine world. However, when the bone progenitor's power expanded, the 6 major powers felt threatened. They started a war, wanting to destroy the bone progenitor's power. However, the bone progenitor was too amazing. In the end, it resisted the attacks of the 6 major powers. After that battle, the 6 major powers recognized the bone progenitor's heavenly bone palace. Thus, the heavenly bone palace became the 7th major power of the divine world. All the people who ascended from the lower realms in the divine world were incomparably proud when they talked about the heavenly bone palace. That was because it was established by people from the lower realms. After the heavenly bone palace was completely stabilized, it coexisted with the 6 major powers. However, For countless years, there would always be friction between the 6 major powers. The South Tomb Sword Palace, which was located in the southern part of the Divine World, had fought many battles with the Heavenly Bone Palace and suffered heavy losses. From then on, the South Tomb Sword Palace and the Heavenly Bone Palace became mortal enemies. The South Tomb Sword Palace was located in the southernmost part of the Divine World. The temperature here was extremely hot all year round and was suitable for cultivators of the law of fire. The South Tomb Sword Palace was also the most proficient in the way of the sword among the 7 major powers. The sword cultivators who walked out of the South Tomb Sword Palace were the strongest in the entire Divine World. The South Tomb Sword Palace's territory was vast. Within its territory, there were 7 guiding gates under its jurisdiction. In the entire Divine World, there were a total of 49 doors of guidance. Every force was in charge of 7. Since the 18 epochs, there were many outstanding people among the martial artists who ascended from the lower realms. The 6 major powers often found martial artists with potential in the doors of guidance. Through them, they raised the foundation of their sect. However, in this epoch, ever since the bone progenitor ascended, the environment of the lower realms became extremely harsh. There were very few martial artists who ascended to the Divine World. Over time, the doors of guidance were almost deserted. However, even so, there were guards guarding the doors of guidance all year round. Today, in the territory of the South Tomb Sword Palace, the 7th door of guidance. As usual, the 2 guards stood guard in front of the gate of guidance. It had been hundreds of millions of years since the gate of guidance had moved. "It's so boring to guard here every day," said one of the guards wearing a straw hat. The other guard nodded, his face filled with helplessness. "Who asked us to be the lowest level guards of the South Tomb Sword Palace? If we can't break through the bottleneck, I'm afraid we can only stay here for the rest of our lives. If there were people from the lower realms here, they would definitely be shocked." The auras of the 2 guards were thick, and it was obvious that they were Eternal Realm martial artists. However, Eternal Realm martial artists could only be guards in the Divine World who did odd jobs. From this, it could be seen how strong the martial artists of the Divine World were. In the lower realms, Eternal Realm martial artists were invincible martial artists who could sweep through everything. Sigh, work hard on your cultivation. If you can comprehend the laws, we can escape from the abyss of suffering, said the guard wearing a straw hat. In the Divine World, almost everyone had the laws. And to become a disciple of a big faction, the minimum requirement was to grasp the laws. These 2 guards were sent here to guard the door of guidance because they were unable to grasp the laws. They were deemed to have low potential. I heard from the elders in the palace that guarding the door of guidance was a very popular job. That's not true. A long time ago, martial artists from the lower realms were very strong overall, and it was easy for them to ascend. You also know that with great perseverance, one's talent would not be too bad if he ascended to the Divine World. If a martial artist ascended from the door of guidance and was chosen by the sect, he would be heavily rewarded. The other guard pursed his lips and said, "Now it's great. 10,000 years is like a day, there won't be any martial artists ascending. Sigh, I can only complain about it here." From the words of the 2 guards, it was clear that they were dissatisfied with this job. However, they were too weak and did not have any right to speak in the Sword Palace. "It's noon. Let's go and drink some wine," said the guard wearing a straw hat. The extreme south was very hot, and with the scorching sun hanging high in the sky, it made people feel helpless. The 2 guards sat in a pavilion not far from the gate of guidance and began to gulp down wine. The door of guidance was a fiery red altar. There were complicated patterns on the altar. It was said that the door of guidance had existed since ancient times. Hiss hiss hiss, the altar, which had been quiet for tens of thousands of years, suddenly had some subtle movements. The 2 guards were drinking and did not notice it at all. Dawn, however, after a while, the movement on the altar became louder and louder. A trembling sound rang out, finally attracting the attention of the 2 guards. "Yes, there's movement from the door of guidance." When the 2 guards saw the movement on the altar, their faces were filled with disbelief. Then, they looked at each other and laughed. Could it be that someone ascended? The guard wearing a straw hat was somewhat excited. Chapter 1660. The vibrations on the fiery red altar became louder and louder. At the same time, fiery red light emerged from the altar. All signs indicated that the door of guidance in the altar had opened, and someone was in the passageway. This scene caused the two guards to shout excitedly. They were just complaining that the door of guidance would not move for 10,000 years. But now, there was such a commotion. The two guards were no longer in the mood to drink. They hurriedly ran to the altar and observed carefully. Buzz! The fiery red light quickly gathered together and formed a powerful whirlpool. The temperature in the whirlpool was extremely high. Within the whirlpool, the passageway gradually revealed itself. At this moment, in the passageway, Fang Chen, who was wrapped in a golden luster, was rising. So hot! Fang Chen also felt the scorching heat. He wiped the sweat on his forehead. At this moment, he saw the fiery red whirlpool above his head. Have I reached the exit? Fang Chen's heart moved slightly. A terrifying suction force emerged from the fiery red whirlpool and directly sucked his body out. Voila! Under the gaze of the two guards, Fang Chen's body walked out of the fiery red whirlpool and landed on the altar. Hiss! The golden luster around his body gradually disappeared. Ha ha ha! It's really someone who ascended from the lower realm. The Straw Hat guard laughed heartily. He was very excited. However, the other guard stopped him. Don't be happy too early. Hearing his words, the Straw Hat guard was a little puzzled. His gaze immediately fell on Fang Chen. With a glance, he discovered that Fang Chen was a life and death realm warrior. Soon after, the faces of the two guards darkened. What's going on? After waiting for so long, a life and death realm warrior ascended. It was almost impossible for a life and death realm warrior to survive in the god world. Needless to say, this lower realm cultivator did not have much potential. The two guards felt that they were happy for nothing. Their faces were a little gloomy. On the fiery red altar, Fang Chen looked around. Feeling the scorching heat of the law of fire in the air, his heart moved slightly. Is this the god world? Fang Chen said to himself. The divine world was indeed incomparable to the lower realms. The power of law was everywhere. Moreover, the god realm gave people a very vast feeling. The power in the guiding channel has tempered my body. Now, my physical body is even stronger. Fang Chen was secretly delighted. Fortunately, he had the golden heart. Otherwise, he might not have been able to survive the passage. But now, he was finally in the god realm. Fang Chen clenched his fists in delight. Ascending to the god realm after cultivating for less than 100 years was something to be proud of. Just as Fang Chen was lost in thought, the two guards spoke. Kid, did you ascend from the lower realm? Asked the Straw Hat guard. Fang Chen nodded. We are the guards of the 7th gate of guidance. Since you ascended from here, you are under our jurisdiction, another guard said. The 7th gate of guidance is located in the territory of the South Tomb Sword Palace. You just ascended and don't know anything. It's best if you don't wander around. Otherwise, if you anger the South Tomb Sword Palace, you'll definitely die. May I ask what the South Tomb Sword Palace is? Asked Fang Chen curiously. Don't ask if you don't know, said the Straw Hat guard coldly. The other guard said, bring him to the servant hall first. The Straw Hat guard nodded and brought Fang Chen away. On the way, Fang Chen was filled with doubts. But every time he wanted to ask, he would be scolded by the Straw Hat guard. There was no way around it. The Straw Hat guard was an eternal realm expert. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. The most important thing now was to settle down and slowly find out more about the god realm. As the saying went, the future was long. Before long, the Straw Hat guard brought Fang Chen to a majestic city. Above the city gate were the words Servant Hall. How majestic. Fang Chen couldn't help sighing. Bumpkin. The Straw Hat guard mocked. Although he looked down on Fang Chen, he still followed the rules and explained the Servant Hall to Fang Chen. Kid, you ascended from the South Tomb Sword Palace's Gate of Guidance. So from now on, you're a reserve martial artist of the South Tomb Sword Palace, said the Straw Hat guard. What's a reserve martial artist? Asked Fang Chen. The Straw Hat Guard explained, "The South Tomb Sword Palace is one of the strongest forces in the God realm. There are countless people who want to join. You can be considered lucky to have ascended from here. Only then are you qualified to enter the Handyman Hall. Otherwise, with your mediocre skills, you wouldn't even be qualified to enter the Handyman Hall." In truth, the reason why the 7 great forces had set this rule was to protect those who ascended. After all, those who had just ascended wouldn't be too strong. It was obviously impossible to compete for a spot among the hundreds of millions of people. That was why those who ascended could directly enter the Servant Hall. Of course, entering the Servant Hall doesn't mean that you can become a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace. You can live in the Servant Hall for 3 years. After 3 years, if you don't meet the test standards, you'll be expelled, said the Straw Hat Guard. Once you're expelled, you'll lose the qualifications to join the South Tomb Sword Palace. And you'll become a loose martial artist, continued the Straw Hat Guard. Hearing this, Fang Chen nodded slightly. So this so-called Servant Hall was actually a place to test a martial artist's strength. 3 years. That's enough. Fang Chen thought to himself. At the very least, in these 3 years, there wouldn't be any danger in the Servant Hall. Firstly, he could cultivate diligently. Secondly, he could search for information about the God realm. After entering the city, the Straw Hat Guard brought Fang Chen to a martial artist with a strong aura. "Sir, this martial artist just ascended from the 7th gate of guidance. I've specially brought him here," said the Straw Hat Guard very respectfully. "Oh." The martial artist who was addressed as Sir was clearly a little surprised. However, when his gaze landed on Fang Chen, he shook his head slightly. "You haven't even reached the immemorial realm." "Too weak," said the Sir. "From today onwards, you'll be in charge of sparring with the disciples of the Servant Hall." Hearing this, the Straw Hat martial artist's expression changed, but he didn't say anything in the end. After settling Fang Chen, the Straw Hat Guard left the Servant Hall. This booklet contains the rules of the Servant Hall. Take a good look. Fang Chen's residence was a solitary courtyard. He couldn't help but praise the South Tomb Sword Palace. Although the Servant Hall had the lowest status in the South Tomb Sword Palace, the treatment of the disciples was still pretty good. Sitting on a stone bench, Fang Chen flipped through the booklet. The South Tomb Sword Palace has a vast territory. Just a simple look at the introduction of the South Tomb Sword Palace and Fang Chen was incomparably shocked. The territory of the South Tomb Sword Palace was comparable to the entire lower realm. And this was just one faction. There were a total of 7 such factions in the God realm. Fang Chen didn't dare to imagine. God realm. Fang Chen's gaze was burning. This was what he was pursuing. Simply put, the Servant Hall was in charge of all the daily affairs within the territory of the South Tomb Sword Palace. At the same time, it was also in charge of testing martial artists who wanted to join the South Tomb Sword Palace. Of course, for a small fry like Fang Chen, he wasn't qualified to participate in the miscellaneous affairs of the South Tomb Sword Palace. The Servant Hall has a Hall Master and a Vice Hall Master. Both of their strengths have surpassed the immemorial realm. However, their positions in the South Tomb Sword Palace are inferior to ordinary disciples. Fang Chen sighed as he read up to this point. The more he read, the more shocked he felt. The power of the South Tomb Sword Palace was too great. After the shock, he continued reading. After a while, he finished reading the booklet. The rules of the Servant Hall were very simple. That was to absolutely obey orders. And as a sparring partner, what he had to do every day was to be a wooden stake and accompany the disciples of the Servant Hall to cultivate. Forget it, let's not worry about it for now. The most important thing should be to step into the immemorial realm. Fang Chen thought to himself. Only after coming to the God realm did he realize that life and death realm martial artists absorbed the power of laws very slowly. Only after reaching the immemorial realm could one be considered to be able to start living in the God realm. Moreover, the disciples of the Servant Hall were all immemorial realm martial artists. If he were to be their sparring partner, he definitely wouldn't be able to handle it. The competition in the God realm is too cruel. This is only the beginning. Fang Chen's gaze was deep as he said in a deep voice. Chapter 1661. After entering the Handaman Hall, it was rather quiet for the first few days. Fang Chen did not want to waste any time and had been working hard to cultivate. However, on the 5th day, someone came to look for him. Fang Chen, the senior brothers are going to cultivate. Hurry up and be their sparring partner, a disciple of the Handaman Hall said. Fang Chen nodded, stood up, and headed to the square. The entire city was the territory of the Handaman Hall. As for the disciples, they would usually cultivate in the square. When Fang Chen arrived, there were already many people there. Hurry up, you're the only one left. The elder in charge of the Handaman Hall disciples' cultivation said in a deep voice. Fang Chen immediately jogged over. The elder asked him to stand with a row of people in the center of the square. Just stand with them, the elder said. Fang Chen realized that the group of people in the center of the square were also sparring partners like him. After standing properly, the elder said, "Today, the main purpose is to train your strength. Each of you will choose a sparring partner. The training will begin now." As soon as the elder finished speaking, a disciple came forward to choose. "You, come with me. You look very sturdy. Come with me." Although there were many disciples in the Handaman Hall, there were very few who could be focused on by the Handaman Hall. After a while, the disciples who were focused on training had been selected. However, the elder's gaze fell on a woman in black in the distance. "Mo Shunga, it's your turn to choose." The elder's attitude towards the woman in black was very gentle. When he looked at the woman in black, his eyes were full of smiles. Fang Chen heard the whispers of the people around him. "So this woman is the strongest disciple of the Handaman Hall," Fang Chen said to himself. The strongest disciple of the Handaman Hall meant that she would definitely be able to join the Sword Palace of the South Tomb. The Handaman Hall would directly train her as a disciple of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb. The woman in black turned around with a cold expression. There was an aura that kept people thousands of miles away from her. It was very cold. She walked to the remaining sparring partners and swept her gaze across the crowd. Finally, her gaze fell on Fang Chen. "I choose him," the woman in black said in a heavenly voice. Hearing this, the elder was stunned. "Shunga, why did you choose him?" the elder asked in confusion. Among the many sparring partners present, only Fang Chen was in the life and death realm. The others were all in the eternal realm. "Shunga, he's too weak. He can't resist your attack." The elder wasn't worried about Fang Chen's life or death, but the cultivation progress of this woman in black called Mo Shunga. He was worried that Fang Chen would be too weak and affect Mo Shunga's cultivation. Fang Chen sighed in his heart. When he was in the lower realm, he already knew that this was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. At that time, he felt that the competition wasn't too fierce. However, after coming to the God realm, he had a deeper understanding of the law of the jungle. If you are too weak, no one will care about your life or death. "I'll choose him." The black-clothed woman, Mo Shunga, frowned in displeasure. Seeing this, the elder did not say anything else. After Mo Shunga made her choice, the elder waved his hand, indicating for the other sparring partners who were not chosen to leave. Fang Chen could vaguely hear the whispers of the sparring partners who were not selected. They were very happy. "Okay, let's start training," the elder said. It was no exaggeration to say that this batch of disciples would all pass the test soon. They were also very strong. "I'll go first." A fat martial artist suddenly punched out. Dong. Wild power emanated from his body and instantly gathered in front of him to form a terrifying fist aura. After that, it ruthlessly struck the body of the sparring partner opposite him. Crack. The sparring partner's body did not have any strength to resist and was directly sent flying. Dong. The sparring partner spat out blood and died instantly. Too weak. Seeing this, the fat warrior sneered. "Zhuang, you've become stronger again. Zhuang, even 100 sparring partners won't be enough for you. Zhuang, you'll definitely be in the top 3 in the test in 3 months." Many disciples were praising Zhuang. Only the black-clothed woman, Mo Shunga, did not even look at Zhuang. The black-clothed woman, Mo Shunga, carefully observed Fang Chen with a hint of curiosity in her eyes. Suddenly, Mo Shunga asked, "Did you ascend from the lower realm?" Fang Chen was a little surprised, but he still nodded and answered. Mo Shunga nodded slightly and said, "Actually, I admire you warriors who ascend from the lower realm with your own efforts. You shouldn't have joined the South Tomb Sword Palace." Oh. Fang Chen was a little curious. There are 7 top forces in the God realm. One of them was founded by an ascender called the Skybone Palace. The Palace Master of the Skybone Palace, the Bone Progenitor, is also one of the top experts in the God realm. He is a powerful warrior who ascended from the lower realm. You should go to the Skybone Palace. After all, only ascenders will be protected there. Hearing this, Fang Chen was shocked. He did not expect the Bone Progenitor to be so powerful. The Skybone Palace that he founded was actually one of the top 7 forces in the God realm. Seeing Fang Chen's shock, Mo Shunga shook her head slightly. After a long time, Fang Chen woke up from his shock. He felt that Mo Shunga was deliberately reminding him, so he asked, "Why are you telling me this?" Mo Shunga fell into silence, her expression a little pained. "Because I once fell in love with an ascender." Hearing Mo Shunga's answer, Fang Chen was stunned for a moment, but he did not say anything else. After venting her emotions, Mo Shunga returned to the main topic. "I will help you while you are at the servant hall. However, I can't help you for long. You will have to rely on yourself," said Mo Shunga. Perhaps it was because Fang Chen was an ascender from the lower realm that brought back her memories. "Thank you." Fang Chen thanked her apologetically. Mo Shunga waved her hand and said, "You are too weak. You will be my sparring partner and observe." With that, Mo Shunga clenched her small white hands into fists, and power surged. So strong. Fang Chen felt his scalp go numb. He activated the perfect sword body to block Mo Shunga's attack. Dong. Fang Chen's body quickly retreated, and pain filled his entire body. "Okay." Mo Shunga was a little surprised to see Fang Chen only take a few steps back. "Although you are weak, your physical defense is not bad." To put it bluntly, the sparring partners of the servant hall were cannon fodder that could die at any time. This was the first time Fang Chen was a sparring partner, and he saw several of his fellow sparring partners die. Their cultivations were all in the eternal realm. This was the reality. No one would sympathize with the weak. It was normal for sparring partners to die. Fortunately, Fang Chen met Mo Shunga. She had been holding back, so although he was injured, he did not die. Of course, Fang Chen's actions also caused some disciples to be dissatisfied. It was better to say that Zhuang Heng was very strong. After Zhuang Heng killed a sparring partner with one punch, his gaze fell on the black-clothed Mo Shunga. Then, he walked towards Mo Shunga. "Shunga, what's the point of having such a trashy sparring partner?" Mo Shunga ignored Zhuang Heng and continued to fight with Fang Chen. She was very pretentious after being rejected and vented her anger on Fang Chen. "Brat, someone like you wants to get close to Shunga? Go to hell." Zhuang Heng suddenly threw a punch with great strength. Caught off guard, Fang Chen did not have time to dodge. Bang! At the critical moment, Mo Shunga blocked Zhuang Heng's attack. "Zhuang Heng, what are you doing?" Mo Shunga's pretty face was a little angry as she said coldly. Zhuang Heng had feelings for Mo Shunga, so he would be very unhappy if any of the disciples in the servant hall got close to her. As time passed, no one dared to get close to her. But now, he attacked a sparring partner, and Mo Shunga was angry at him. "Shunga, he's just a sparring partner." Before Zhuang Heng could finish speaking, Mo Shunga stopped him. "Zhuang Heng, I'm cultivating. Please don't disturb me," Mo Shunga said expressionlessly. Zhuang Heng saw that Mo Shunga was really angry. He wanted to say something but stopped. He flicked his sleeves, coldly looked at Fang Chen, and then turned to leave. Fang Chen saw a trace of undisguised killing intent in Zhuang Heng's eyes. He wanted to kill him. If you want to kill me, you have to pay a sufficient price." Fang Chen thought to himself. Chapter 1662. In the following days, Fang Chen spent most of his time as Mo Shunga's sparring partner. 8-8 reading. 23 Mo Shunga was very strong. While cultivating, she would also explain things to Fang Chen that he didn't understand. As time passed, Fang Chen's strength also increased. The most obvious thing was his cultivation. Before ascending to the God world, he was only at the 7th level of the life and death realm. Now, he had unknowingly reached the 8th level. It wouldn't be long before he reached the 9th level. In the blink of an eye, a month passed. During this time, Mo Shunga also sensed Fang Chen's potential. However, she had too much contact with Fang Chen, causing her to hate Fang Chen. One day, Zhuangheng found a sparring partner to teach Fang Chen a lesson. This sparring partner was a martial artist who had just entered the Eternal Realm. He was naturally very happy to be rewarded by Zhuangheng. Bang! The door to Fang Chen's courtyard was kicked open. The sparring partner, Xu Zun, swaggered in. His attitude was very arrogant. "Fang Chen, get the hell out here," Xu Zun roared. Fang Chen walked out of the attic with a gloomy face. "What's the matter? Fang Chen, you trash. You haven't even reached the Eternal Realm, yet you dare to come to the servant hall as a sparring partner? You're courting death. If you hadn't eaten dog shit luck and been chosen by Mo Shunga, you'd already be dead." Xu Zun refused to accept this. Why did Fang Chen have such dog shit luck while he didn't? In the previous sparring session, he had almost been killed by Mo Shunga. And then, Fang Chen didn't seem willing to pay attention to Xu Zun. He turned around and prepared to enter the pavilion. "Fang Chen, you coward. Do you dare fight me?" Xu Zun sneered. Not interested. Xu Zun was thoroughly infuriated by Fang Chen's attitude. Furthermore, he had come with a mission. All of a sudden, the anger in his heart erupted. "Fang Chen, you're courting death." Xu Zun made a move. The aura of the Eternal Realm instantly filled the air. A terrifying law of fire emerged from his body as he clenched his fist and threw a punch at Fang Chen. Bang! Fang Chen was already prepared. Seeing this, he immediately countered with a punch. The two fists collided, and Xu Zun's body was forced back. As for Fang Chen, he was forced to retreat. Xu Zun was surprised that Fang Chen was able to block his attack. "Now, you can die." Next, Xu Zun unleashed a terrifying attack. Fang Chen couldn't care less. He used the space-time book and instantly hid himself. Xu Zun suddenly realized that he could no longer sense the other party's existence. "I don't believe that you can hide anywhere." Xu Zun attacked his surroundings crazily, throwing out punch after punch. Swoosh! All of a sudden, tens of thousands of sword lights shot out from the void, piercing toward Xu Zun. Ding ding ding! The sword light was blocked by Xu Zun, but at that moment, Fang Chen kicked Xu Zun. Bang! Caught off guard, Xu Zun was forced back a few steps. After stabilizing himself, Xu Zun was infuriated. "Brat, you're courting death." Being humiliated by a life and death realm cultivator filled Xu Zun's heart with fury. "With my current strength, if I use the dark demonic wheel, defeating this person will be a piece of cake." However, Fang Chen also had his own considerations. He didn't want to cause trouble in the servant hall. However, if Xu Zun went too far, he wouldn't be able to stop him. Just as Xu Zun was about to attack, Mo Shunga appeared. Scram! Mo Shunga's expression was gloomy. Xu Zun's face was pale with fright as he fled in panic. "Are you all right?" asked Mo Shunga. Fang Chen shook his head. "Many thanks." "What are you thanking me for? Even if I didn't attack, he wouldn't have been able to kill you." Over the past month, Mo Shunga had gained a better understanding of Fang Chen. In a magnificent courtyard, Xu Zun was reporting to Zhuangheng. Bang! After hearing Xu Zun's report, Zhuangheng's expression was gloomy. He smashed the stone table beside him. "Mo Shunga." Zhuangheng's expression was ferocious as he burned with rage. "Senior brother Zhuang, with Mo Shunga protecting him, we can't do anything to Fang Chen," said Xu Zun helplessly. Zhuangheng pondered for a moment, then said, "In 2 months, our batch of disciples will be tested. Once the test is over, Mo Shunga will definitely enter the Sword Palace." Xu Zun was very smart. Zhuangheng immediately understood. "Don't worry, senior brother Zhuang. When the time comes, I will definitely help you kill this kid." Time passed in the blink of an eye. Especially in the God world, time flowed like water. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Zhuangheng's batch of disciples began their test. The test of the servant hall was very difficult. However, this batch of disciples all passed. After the test, Mo Shunga and the others officially became disciples of the Sword Palace. They were about to leave the servant hall and head to the Sword Palace. From then on, their futures were limitless. However, after Mo Shunga became a disciple of the Sword Palace, she made a request to the servant hall master. The servant hall master agreed without any hesitation. What a joke! Mo Shunga and the others were destined to become experts in the future. At this time, befriending them was the wisest choice. Mo Shunga, Zhuangheng, and the others left the servant hall. As for Fang Chen, with Mo Shunga's help, he became a guard of the servant hall's forbidden area. They wouldn't dare to enter the forbidden area of the servant hall even if they had 100 guts. Although it was said to be a guard, it was actually to create an opportunity for Fang Chen to cultivate alone. From this day onwards, Fang Chen came to the forbidden area of the servant hall. "I'll cultivate here for the next 2 years, Fang Chen said to himself as he sat cross-legged. He was very grateful to Mo Shunga. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't have such a good opportunity. He knew that Xu Zun and the others hated him to the bone and definitely wanted to kill him. However, it was uncertain who would be the one to kill whom in 2 years. I hope I can reach the eternal realm within 2 years. With that, Fang Chen closed his eyes and began cultivating. Fang Chen's cultivation mainly focused on the fire laws. After entering the God world, the fire laws he absorbed were even purer. Therefore, it was relatively easier to improve. Moreover, Fang Chen had the King of Fire, the Undying Flames, and had a natural affinity for fire. After half a year of seclusion in the forbidden area, Fang Chen raised his fire laws to the 6-star realm. Raising 2 small realms in a row wasn't a big deal. The most important thing was that he had reached the 7th-star realm. In the following time, Fang Chen sprinted with all his might. Finally, after a year of seclusion, his fire laws reached the peak. The 7th-star realm's fire laws were very powerful. With a thought, the power of the fire laws would spread around his body. Now, my undying flames alone can burn a life and death realm ultimate warrior. Fang Chen muttered to himself, his face full of smiles. Now that his fire laws had reached the limit, the next step was to improve his cultivation. Break! Fang Chen growled, and the long river of laws in his chi sea continued to expand. In a few breaths of time, the long river of laws had finished expanding. At this time, Fang Chen's cultivation had reached the 9th level of the life and death realm. Moreover, it wasn't an ordinary 9th level, but the peak of the 9th level. Just one more step and I'll reach the immemorial realm. It wasn't that easy to reach the immemorial realm. Since there was still some time, Fang Chen wasn't in a hurry. He didn't give himself any pressure and continued to cultivate. Outside the forbidden area, servant hall, batch after batch of warriors were gradually eliminated. Batch after batch of sparring partners died at the hands of the servant hall disciples. Xu Zun's luck was better. Zhuangheng liked him, and before he left, he arranged an idle job for him. For more than a year, Xu Zun had been waiting for Fang Chen to appear. This damn guy, when will he come out? Thinking of Fang Chen, Xu Zun was furious. Such a weak piece of trash was assigned to guard the forbidden area. Who knew how many people were jealous? However, this was the servant hall master's order, and no one dared to go against it. Brat, when you come out, I, Xu Zun, will kill you with my own hands. Xu Zun said coldly. Roar. Suddenly, the roar of a beast broke the silence of the servant hall. Immediately, countless clamoring noises rang out. Xu Zun could vaguely hear someone shouting, "Demonic beasts are attacking the city. Oh bastard, you're courting death." At that instant, a terrifying voice could be heard in the sky, uttering coldly. This was the servant hall master's voice. Rumble. A deafening sound resounded through the sky. The entire Handaman Hall city was shaking violently. Chapter 1663. The vast realm of the gods was not as peaceful as one would imagine. There would often be beast hordes. The beasts of the realm of the gods stood at the top of the entire beast world. They were called divine beasts. Even the most ordinary divine beasts were not comparable to the beasts of the lower realm. The undying bird was an ancient divine beast. Moreover, it was not considered weak among the divine beasts. In the vast realm of the gods, other than the places where the gods lived, the wilderness was basically occupied by divine beasts. Therefore, there would often be divine beasts attacking cities. Just now, the divine beasts attacked cities. However, this was the territory of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb. The Servant Hall Master was abnormally powerful and suppressed the beast hordes with his own strength. The beast hordes outside did not affect Fang Chen's cultivation at all. In the forbidden area of the Servant Hall, other than the 2 Servant Hall Masters, almost no one was qualified to enter. Usually, the Servant Hall Master would not come in. Therefore, it was unusually quiet here. Fang Chen used the Golden Heart to cultivate quickly. Speaking of which, the Golden Heart had been unusually active since coming to the realm of the gods. Moreover, Fang Chen was shocked to find that the Golden Heart's activity had obviously increased the speed of his absorption of the power of law. Without the help of the Golden Heart, it would be difficult to break through. The flame law had already been cultivated to 6 stars. It was only 1 step away from 7 stars. This step seemed simple, but it was actually very difficult. Only by experiencing this step personally would one realize the mystery behind it. When the flame law was cultivated to the highest level, it could burn everything in the world. Fang Chen's body was surrounded by the scorching undying flame. The undying flame was rapidly absorbing the power of the flame law. After coming to the realm of the gods, Fang Chen felt that his comprehension of the laws had become deeper. In fact, this had something to do with the environment. As time passed, the lower realm's cultivation resources became more and more barren. The realm of the gods was different. It was incomparable to the lower realm in all aspects. Here, the power of law was exceptionally rich. Walking between heaven and earth, one could absorb the power of law at any time. In Fang Chen's mind, he had been thinking about the mysteries of the flame law. Finally, after half a year, Fang Chen's mind suddenly became clear. Before that, he did an experiment. U1, he tried to integrate the grey aura that had been transformed from the true meaning of spacetime into the law of fire. This test caused Fang Chen to be shocked. After the grey aura fused with the fire maxim, it immediately devoured the fire maxim. The following situation was out of Fang Chen's control. There was a look of panic on his face. He felt as if he was no longer related to the laws of fire and could no longer control the power of the laws. However, while Fang Chen was still in shock, the grey aura suddenly disappeared, and the fire law reappeared. It was just that the flame laws that appeared again were clearly much stronger. This is, with a thought from Fang Chen, a flame appeared in his palm. Instantly, the surrounding air became extremely hot. So hot. According to Fang Chen's guess, this temperature was enough to burn a life and death realm monarch alive. Right at this moment, the long river of laws in his chi sea rumbled. In the blink of an eye, it expanded to a very exaggerated extent. This, Fang Chen looked at his own long river of laws, dumbfounded. The long river of laws had already filled his entire chi sea. This was an unheard of situation. For an ordinary martial artist, when one law reaches the limit, the long river of laws should occupy about 80% of the chi sea. Fang Chen was shocked and said slowly. His long river of laws was obviously much wider than that of ordinary martial artists. It directly occupied the entire chi sea. Regardless, the law of fire is finally complete. Fang Chen sighed. When the law of fire reached the 7 stars realm, he could control the power of laws at will and form all kinds of attacks. The law of fire was incomparably domineering and fierce. At least, in terms of offense, it could form the greatest help to Fang Chen. In terms of defense, the law of fire was also needless to say. With the undying flame surrounding his body, unless it was a martial artist who was much stronger than him, it was impossible to break through his defense. Whoosh, after the law of fire reached the 7 stars realm, Fang Chen's cultivation also began to break through. Rumble, in his chi sea, the long river of laws rolled. U2, the aura around Fang Chen's body was rising rapidly. It was a fundamental transformation from the life and death realm to the eternal realm. It was no exaggeration to say that only by reaching the eternal realm would one be qualified to continue living in the divine world. The eternal realm was just the beginning. Seeing the changes in his qi, Fang Chen smiled. Although he had only reached the eternal realm, he was still very happy. No one knew his situation better than him. To be able to reach the eternal realm in such a short time, it was also thanks to the unique cultivation environment of the divine world. Whoosh, after an hour, Fang Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, and then the aura around his body gradually converged. Eternal realm. Fang Chen clenched his fists, and a deafening cracking sound came from the surrounding air. From now on, he was a true eternal realm expert. After reaching the eternal realm, Fang Chen's strength had increased a lot. However, the divine art, heavenly imperial sword art, was obviously not enough for Fang Chen. In the lower realm, the heavenly imperial sword art is the strongest technique. In the divine world, it is only the most ordinary. Fang Chen said faintly. After coming to the divine world, he had to change his mindset. Congratulations, Master, on breaking through to the eternal realm. The dark demonic wheel's spirit suddenly said. With Master's current strength, you can fully activate the dark demonic wheel's power. Oh! Fang Chen smiled. According to his estimation, after reaching the eternal realm, he could at least fight with a second-level eternal realm expert. If he fully activated the dark demonic wheel, he should be able to kill a second-level eternal realm expert. If only the Book of Time and Space could be improved a little more. Fang Chen felt a little regretful. The Book of Time and Space had a total of 18 levels. If he cultivated it to the peak, he did not know what would happen. He was looking forward to it. Calculating the time, the deadline of 3 years was almost up. Fang Chen stood up and stretched his body. The competition in the South Tomb Sword Palace is too fierce. They hate ascenders and are enemies with the Sky Bone Palace created by the Bone Progenitor. Fang Chen's deep eyes looked at the blue sky as he muttered to himself. He had hoped to join the South Tomb Sword Palace. You three, however, after listening to Mo Shunga's words, Fang Chen changed his mind. Instead of being cautious at every step in the South Tomb Sword Palace, he would rather leave the servant hall and join a mid-sized faction. When he had enough power, he could cut through all obstacles and reach the Skybone Palace. The divine world was vast. The distance between the South Tomb Sword Palace and the Skybone Palace was too far. With his current speed, he would not be able to reach the Skybone Palace in a few decades. One day, I will stand at the top of the divine world, Fang Chen said to himself. He had thought that after entering the divine world, he would be able to reunite with the star and moon. Now that he thought about it, he was too naive. The competition in the divine world was too cruel. The slightest bit of carelessness could lead to death. Therefore, he had to be careful and take every step carefully. Star and moon, wait for me. Fang Chen clenched his fists. This was his promise to the star and moon. No matter how difficult the road ahead was, he would continue to search for the star and moon. When he thought of the star and moon, Fang Chen thought of the man called Zhu Lei. Fang Chen would never be able to forget his arrogant face. Unknowingly, Fang Chen clenched his fists so tightly that his nails dug into his flesh. Traces of blood flowed from his palms. Just as Fang Chen was thinking, a sigh suddenly entered Fang Chen's ears. Who is it? Fang Chen turned pale with fright and looked around. He did not discover anything. This made Fang Chen even more confused. The servant hall was a forbidden area. Apart from the 2 hall masters, no one had the right to enter. Who is it? Fang Chen asked loudly. Buzz. An ancient aura came from the cave in the forbidden area. Then, a trace of sword energy came to Fang Chen's side. This is... Fang Chen's heart trembled. This trace of sword energy caused his golden heart to beat rapidly. What's in the cave? Fang Chen frowned. After a while, he prepared to enter the cave to check it out. However, he also had some concerns in his heart. Chapter 1664. Since it was his first time in the realm of the gods, he had to be careful. Although this was only a forbidden area of the servant hall, it was still considered part of the South Tomb Sword Palace. After Fang Chen weighed the pros and cons, he finally chose to enter. because he felt that the golden heart seemed to be intentionally guiding him in. No one will come to the forbidden area of the back mountain. I'll go in and take a look, Fang Chen said to himself. Then, he took a step forward and entered the forbidden cave. While the cave seemed to be another space. Fang Chen felt the space around him distort. Then, he appeared in a completely different world. Fang Chen panicked a little as he looked around. Little fellow, there's no need to panic. The place you're in now is my dreamland. A melodious voice entered Fang Chen's ears. The latter was shocked. He was actually in someone else's dream. What was going on? There was nothing around Fang Chen. He couldn't even feel a trace of energy fluctuation. Hiss hiss hiss, it seemed to want to tell Fang Chen that he was really in a dream. A familiar dreamy aura suddenly emerged from the void. In an instant, Fang Chen opened his eyes wide. He had the true meaning of dreams, so he was naturally very familiar with the aura of dreams. I'm really in a dream. Fang Chen didn't dare to imagine how strong this expert was. He actually let him enter his dream unknowingly. Fang Chen, who had a deep understanding of the true meaning of dreams, knew very well that it wasn't so easy to do this. This involved some things related to the laws. It was very profound. Who are you? Fang Chen tried hard to calm the waves in his heart and asked in a deep voice. Who I am is not important. What's important is that I've finally waited for an ascender. The worried voice sounded again. Hearing this, Fang Chen's heart moved. Could it be that this person is an ascender? Then why would he appear in the forbidden cave of the servant hall? Didn't the South Tomb Sword Palace have a huge grudge against the Heavenly Bone Palace? Why would he be here? A series of doubts filled Fang Chen's mind. You won, you don't need to be confused. I'm also an ascender like you. Furthermore, I'm a disciple of the Heavenly Bone Palace. The voice sounded again. Then why are you here? Asked Fang Chen. Because back then I charged into the servant hall and killed my enemies. Although he had taken his revenge in the end, he was killed by the experts of the South Tomb Sword Palace's odd job hall. A remnant of his soul hid in the forbidden grounds. You're a disciple of the Heavenly Bone Palace. Fang Chen was very surprised. He didn't expect a disciple of the Heaven Bone Palace to be hidden here. At first Fang Chen was Heavenly Bone Palace. Was he to Heavenly Bone Palaces to the Heavenly Bone Palace to heavenly to heavens to heaven to the Heavenly Bone? Senior, may I ask how I should address you? Asked Fang Chen respectfully. When I was in the lower realm, I was known as the Sky River Patriarch. So, it's the Sky River Great Elder. Fang Chen was relieved when he heard this. Heavenly 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 God, heavenly his heavens heavens heavens, heavenly 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 heavens heavens. When he was in the lower realm, he was extremely dazzling, an era-suppressing existence. A long, long time ago, he stepped foot into the God realm. Who would have thought that he would actually end up like this? Ancestor, aren't you afraid of being discovered by the experts of the servant hall? Fang Chen asked. The Sky River Great Ancestor pondered for a moment and then said, My injuries were too serious back then. Although I have been hiding here all these years, I have been struggling at death's door. I'm not willing to die like this. It wasn't until you appeared that my hope was rekindled. Ancestor, don't worry. Junior will definitely think of a way to save you, Fang Chen said in a deep voice. The Sky River Patriarch said, It's a miracle that my remnant will has been able to hold on until now. The reason why I called you here is because I have a request. What is it? While in the dream, a golden scroll appeared. The scroll floated in front of Fang Chen. This scroll records important secrets about the Sword Palace of the South Tomb. I hope you can bring it to the Sky Bone Palace and hand it to the Bone Progenitor, the Sky River Great Ancestor said. Fang Chen hesitated for a moment and did not reach out to take it. This scroll doesn't have much use for ordinary warriors. But to the Sky Bone Palace, it is of great significance. You are also from the lower realm, so I chose to believe you. I hope you won't disappoint me, the Sky River Great Ancestor continued. Under the Sky River Great Ancestor's persuasion, Fang Chen finally took the scroll. Ancestor, don't worry. I will definitely bring it safely, Fang Chen promised. Seeing Fang Chen put away the scroll, the Sky River Great Ancestor breathed a sigh of relief and immediately warned, "You must not open this scroll. Otherwise, you won't be able to bear the consequences." "I know." Fang Chen nodded. "You too." After warning Fang Chen, the Sky River Great Ancestor's remnant consciousness turned into a hot light and instantly poured into Fang Chen's body. "This is all I can help you with." After saying that, the Sky River Great Ancestor's remnant consciousness disappeared, and the extremely terrifying dreamy aura poured into Fang Chen's body. In an instant, the true meaning of illusion in Fang Chen's body was released. Whoosh! Whoosh! The true meaning of illusion quickly absorbed the dreamy aura. Its level was also rapidly increasing. Grade 7, Grade 8, Grade 9. In the blink of an eye, the true meaning of illusion reached Grade 9. At this moment, a voice reverberated in his mind. Like reality and illusion, like a dream and like an illusion, true and false, false and true. This was the Sky River Great Ancestor's instruction to Fang Chen before his death. Dong! Fang Chen's mind exploded all of a sudden. The terrifying dreamy aura filled his entire mind. Fang Chen's body fell into a stupefied state, and his consciousness was immersed in the sea of illusion. In some ways, the true meaning of space and time had a certain degree of commonality with the true meaning of illusion. Therefore, when he heard the Sky River Great Ancestor's last sentence, the golden heart triggered a great resonance. Rumble, the dreamy aura surrounded him, and the Sky River Great Ancestor's dreamland gradually disappeared. The so-called dream is relative to others. The corner of Fang Chen's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Immediately, his mind moved. Suddenly, he was in a dreamy space. "Is this my dreamland?" Fang Chen muttered to himself. Immediately, he retracted his aura, and his body appeared in the cave. The dreamy power in the air constantly drilled into his body. The true meaning of illusion in his body was rapidly transforming into the illusion law. "What a profound law of illusion," he said. Fang Chen was very excited in his heart. By chance, he actually comprehended illusion law. Although the illusion law did not have much offensive power, it was superb in terms of survival. The law of illusion combined with the space-time book made it impossible for low-level Eternal Realm experts to capture his movements. Only now did he have the ability to protect himself. Huff! Fang Chen exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Then, he began to look around. Since this place was called a forbidden area, what secrets did it have? Yes, there's a passage ahead. Fang Chen suddenly saw a pitch-black tunnel in front of him. Immediately, he quickly walked toward the passage. Buzz! A terrifying gust of wind came from the passage. Ding! Ding! The wind hit Fang Chen's body, cutting his clothes. "What's in the passage?" Fang Chen frowned. At this moment, the little mouse appeared. "Boss," the little mouse said in a low voice. "Yes. I feel a familiar aura," the little mouse said. "I seem to know what's in the passage." "You know?" Fang Chen asked hurriedly. The little mouse said, "I'm not sure. Let me go in and take a look." "It's dangerous." Fang Chen stopped it. "Boss, I'm a heaven-devouring divine mouse. After coming to the God world, I absorbed a large amount of God world's aura, and my body became even stronger. Even Eternal Realm experts can't break through my defense. Moreover, with my means, even if I encounter danger, I can escape immediately," the little mouse said. He was originally unwilling, but after thinking about it, he agreed. "You must be careful," Fang Chen warned. "Don't worry, boss. If my guess is correct, you will receive unexpected benefits." The little mouse chuckled. Its body was wrapped in a purple glow, and it jumped into the pitch-black passage. Hiss! A biting cold wind blew fiercely from the passage. Chapter 1665. After the little mouse entered the passageway, there was no more movement. Fang Chen clenched his fists, ready to act at any moment. He and the little mouse were mentally connected. Although he couldn't sense the exact location of the little mouse, he could sense that the little mouse wasn't dead. "I hope nothing happens to it," Fang Chen said to himself. Time passed in the blink of an eye. About an hour later, the little mouse suddenly sent a voice transmission to him. "Boss, we're rich, ha ha ha." The little mouse's voice was filled with excitement. "What did you discover?" Fang Chen hurriedly asked. Boss, you'll know in a bit. The little mouse didn't say anything else. After a long wait, the little mouse appeared in front of the pitch-black passageway. Fang Chen's gaze fell on the little mouse. The latter's face was full of smiles. In his palm was a palm-sized egg. Boss, look at this. The little mouse beamed as it looked at the egg in its palm. What egg is this? Fang Chen asked doubtfully. Was this the only thing found in the passageway? The little mouse nodded. Boss, don't underestimate this egg. The entire servant hall can't compare to it. If my guess is correct, this egg is what the South Tomb Sword Palace truly values. As for the servant hall, it's just a decoration to deceive others. It's that amazing. Fang Chen opened his eyes wide in disbelief. To be valued by the South Tomb Sword Palace was enough to show that this egg was extraordinary. But what kind of divine beast's egg was this? What is this egg? Fang Chen asked. The little mouse played with the egg and beamed. This is an ant egg. An ant egg. Fang Chen was stunned. Boss, there are many different races of ants. Do you know what race this egg belongs to? The little mouse asked. Fang Chen shook his head. The little mouse continued, ants are divided into many races. One of them is the royal family of the ants. Furthermore, their name is the Royal Ant Clan. The ants of the Royal Ant Clan will automatically grasp the laws of heaven and earth after they reach adulthood. Hearing this, Fang Chen was shocked. The Imperial Ant Tribe was actually named after the Imperial Ant Tribe. It seemed that the Imperial Ant Tribe was really powerful. The Imperial Ant Clan has very few members, which is a bit similar to our heaven-devouring Divine Rat Clan. Every generation, there will be an Ant Emperor. The Ant Emperor can control all the ants in the heavenly realm, the little mouse continued. All of this was found in his inherited memories. It was also quite shocked. It didn't expect that there would be an ant egg hidden here. The competition in the Ant Emperor clan is very fierce because once you become the Ant Emperor, you'll be able to command all the members of the Ant Clan in the entire God realm. Thus, all of the Imperial Ant Clan's clansmen were doing their best. The only way for them to become Ant Emperors is to devour all of the other Ant Emperors, one by one. Little Mouse continued, when there's only one Ant Emperor left, he'll become the new Ant Emperor of the Imperial Ant Clan. In other words, every generation of the Imperial Ant Clan will only have one Ant Emperor left, said Fang Chen. The little mouse nodded. From a certain point of view, the competition in the Imperial Ant Clan was even fiercer. If you didn't kill others, others would kill you. Thus, the Imperial Ant Clan's clansmen had always been mortal enemies. Why do you know so much about the Imperial Ant Clan? Asked Fang Chen suddenly. The little mouse laughed mischievously. Because we heaven-devouring divine rats feed on the Imperial Ant Clan. Fang Chen was shocked. He looked at the little mouse like he was looking at a monster. After a long while, he did his best to calm down. He carefully combed through the little mouse's words. Finally, he thought of the little mouse's intentions. What you're saying is that we'll incubate this ant egg, and then you'll eat the Imperial Ant Clan? Asked Fang Chen. The little mouse shook his head. Boss, the Imperial Ant Clan is very rare in the divine world. Even those peak powers are unable to resist the temptation of the Imperial Ant Clan. How could I be willing to eat them? We'll incubate the ant egg and then have the Imperial Ant Clan recognize you as its master. We'll raise the Imperial Ant Clan together. Once it matures, we'll help it devour its clansmen. If one day it can become the new Ant Emperor, then it'll be extremely powerful. At that time, with a single order, all the ant clans in the divine world will move out. Even the 7 peak powers will have to think twice if they want to touch Boss, said the little mouse. He wasn't exaggerating in the slightest. Otherwise, the Southern Tomb Sword Palace wouldn't have secretly raised the ant egg here. But why would the Southern Tomb Sword Palace place such an important ant egg here? Aren't they afraid it'll be stolen? Asked Fang Chen. A special environment is needed to raise an ant egg. In the entire Southern Tomb Sword Palace, I'm afraid only this tunnel is suitable for raising an ant egg. That's why the Southern Tomb Sword Palace built a servant hall here to fool others, said the little mouse. Then how do we raise it after we take it away? Asked Fang Chen. Boss, others might not be able to do it, But you're different. The little mouse laughed mischievously. The golden heart in your body is extremely unique. That kind of aura is extremely suitable for raising an ant egg. The environment is 100 times better than this tunnel. Try putting the ant egg into the golden heart. See if you can raise it, urged the little mouse. This was an extremely important matter. Whether they could succeed or not was related to whether they could establish a place for themselves in the divine world. I'll try. Fang Chen took the ant egg. With a thought, he kept the ant egg in his body. Fuse. Fang Chen controlled the golden heart while controlling the ant egg. As soon as the golden heart released a golden halo, the ant egg sensed it and happily swam toward it. A moment later, the ant egg arrived outside the golden heart. Fang Chen tried to fuse with it. The golden heart seemed to know what Fang Chen was trying to do. Crash. The golden heart released a large amount of golden aura that wrapped around the ant egg. In an instant, the ant egg disappeared. Fang Chen hastily looked inside the golden heart and saw that the ant egg was quietly absorbing the golden aura. It works. Fang Chen was overjoyed and shouted excitedly. Ha ha ha, success. The little mouse was also very excited. After all, that was the Imperial Ant clan. In the future, it was extremely likely to become an Imperial Ant boss. The Imperial Ant clan is extremely important. You can't let others know about it. Otherwise, you'll definitely die. Also, quickly find an opportunity to leave the Southern Tomb Sword Palace. Being in the Southern Tomb Sword Palace didn't feel too safe. Don't worry, I know what to do. After putting away the ant egg, Fang Chen brought the little mouse out of the cave. There wasn't a single person in the forbidden area. No one had noticed that Fang Chen had been here. How long does this ant egg need to be nurtured? Asked Fang Chen. It depends on the situation. Some are very fast, while others are very slow, said the little mouse. Nurturing an ant egg required patience. Fang Chen nodded and sat down cross-legged, calming his joy. After a period of time, Fang Chen's group's trial arrived. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed since they had arrived in the divine world. In these 3 years, Fang Chen's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Furthermore, he had obtained an ant egg. That was the most important thing. Today was the day of the trial. A servant hall disciple had come to inform Fang Chen very early in the morning. In the servant hall's plaza, Xu Zun sneered inwardly. The day he had been waiting for had finally arrived. Fang Chen, I've let you live for 3 more years. You should be satisfied, thought Xu Zun. After the trial, he had 100 ways to kill Fang Chen. After I kill you, I'll go to the South Tomb Sword Palace to find senior brother Zhuang Heng. I'm sure he'll be very happy then, Xu Zun said with a sinister smile. Not long after, the plaza was packed with people. There were about 100 disciples in this batch. When Fang Chen arrived, the other disciples were already in place. Fang Chen felt a burning gaze land on his body. He turned his head and was surprised to see Xu Zun glaring at him with hatred in his eyes. "Mph, I'm no longer the weakling from 3 years ago." Fang Chen sneered inwardly. In these 3 years, Xu Zun's cultivation had reached the 2nd level of the Eternal Realm. Although he was at the 1st level of the Eternal Realm, he could easily deal with Xu Zun. "Mph, you think you're safe just because you're in the Eternal Realm? What a joke. I'll let you know the difference between the 1st and 2nd layers." Seeing Fang Chen's nonchalant expression, Xu Zun's heart was filled with rage. He couldn't wait to attack Fang Chen. Chapter 1666. Not long after, the Oddjob Hall Master arrived. After sweeping his gaze across the crowd, he nodded in satisfaction. "If you want to join the South Tomb Sword Palace and become a true disciple, you have to pass our test," said the Oddjob Hall Master. The test was actually very simple. The first test was talent. The South Tomb Sword Palace was a top power in the divine world. Ordinary cultivators were not worthy of their attention. Only the true top geniuses could be selected. The second test was comprehension of the Sword Tao. After all, the South Tomb Sword Palace was a paradise for sword cultivators. It was said that the South Tomb Sword Palace had produced a sword god and was the faith of countless sword cultivators. The third test was one's strength. If you were too weak, even if you joined the South Tomb Sword Palace, you would be courting death. The competition within the South Tomb Sword Palace was even more intense. After all, the South Tomb Sword Palace only had so many resources, and there were hundreds of millions of disciples. With so many people wanting resources, the stronger one would get the resources. Since Fang Chen had already decided to leave the odd job hall, he did not take the test seriously. After the test began, one disciple after another took the test. Most of the disciples failed, but there was a disciple who succeeded from time to time. They were extremely excited. Ha ha ha, I succeeded. I joined the South Tomb Sword Palace. Seeing the excitement of the disciples, Fang Chen could totally imagine. After an hour, it was Fang Chen's turn to take the test. Soon, Fang Chen's test results came out. Eliminated, said the odd job hall master expressionlessly. Fang Chen nodded and quickly left. Seeing this scene, Xu Zun was extremely excited. Fang Chen did not pass the test, which meant that he would be expelled from the odd job hall. He would not be protected by the odd job hall. This way, wouldn't it be justifiable for him to make a move on him? Kid, I'll let you be proud for a while. Xu Zun laughed wildly in his heart. However, Xu Zun was a little too proud. He originally thought that he was full of confidence. Who would have thought that he would fail the test when he was just one step away? In the final test, Xu Zun used his trump card and temporarily raised his cultivation to the 5th level of the 10,000 ancient realm, but he was still a little short. Xu Zun's face was pale. Every time he used his trump card, he needed a few months to recover. Damn it! Xu Zun was very unhappy. He had actually failed. Not long after, the odd job hall master announced the end of the test. The disciples who passed the test will have their own elders to escort you to the South Tomb Sword Palace. As for the others, leave the servant hall immediately, the servant hall master said in a deep voice. The God realm was just like that. Only the strong survived. When the results of the test came out, the hall master of the odd job hall looked at the disciples who failed the test with an impatient expression. The reality was that they had to constantly curry favor with the disciples who passed. On the square, the disciples who failed the test were vainly begging the odd job hall master to let them stay for a while longer. However, Fang Chen did not waste his breath and left immediately. Looking at Fang Chen's departing figure, a murderous intent flashed across Xu Zun's face, and he followed closely behind. Fang Chen had long discovered that Xu Zun was following him, but he didn't point it out. His speed was extremely fast, and he soon left the vicinity of the Handaman Hall. In front of Fang Chen was a mountain range. There were at least tens of thousands of mountains in this mountain range. Go in. Fang Chen entered the 100,000 mountains. Kid, you're dead. When Xu Zun rushed into the 100,000 mountains, he suddenly realized that he could not find any trace of Fang Chen. Damn it, where did this kid go? Xu Zun cursed and looked left and right, trying to find Fang Chen. However, at this moment, a voice came from behind him. Are you looking for me? Xu Zun heard this and quickly turned around. When he saw Fang Chen, his murderous intent was exposed without concealment. Kid, you know that I'm looking for you, but you still dare to show up, Xu Zun said sinisterly. Do you think you can kill me? Fang Chen said indifferently. Killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. Xu Zun did not waste any time and directly attacked. Rumble. The aura of a second-level eternal realm instantly erupted. Despair. Xu Zun's body was surrounded by sword qi, and a strange long sword appeared in his hand. Whoosh. Sword qi rushed to the sky and condensed into a substantial sword light. This was Fang Chen's first attack since he came to the God world. Dong. Fang Chen gathered all the strength in his body, gathered it on his fist, and punched out. Crack. Fang Chen's fist hit Xu Zun's sword light hard. Suddenly, cracks appeared on the sword light, and Fang Chen's body quickly retreated. I'm still a little weak. Fang Chen looked at the menacing Xu Zun. With a thought, he unleashed the illusion law. The power of the law surged and instantly swept through the ground. HMPH, insignificant skill. Xu Zun's attack was very strong, and it constantly suppressed Fang Chen. After activating the law of illusion, Fang Chen used the spacetime book. Crash. Within the law of illusion, Fang Chen was a godlike existence. Where is he? Xu Zun was shocked and carefully searched. However, no matter how hard he searched, he could not find any trace of Fang Chen. Do you think you can escape by hiding? Xu Zun sneered. Today, you will die without a doubt. Who said I was going to hide? Fang Chen's voice could be heard all of a sudden. Immediately after, he used the heavenly imperial sword art. Tens of thousands of sword lights rushed over. Xu Zun felt the terrifying power contained in the sword lights, and his face changed greatly. No. Xu Zun desperately tried to resist, but he was swallowed by the tens of thousands of sword lights. A miserable scream came from Xu Zun's mouth. In the blink of an eye, Xu Zun died. Whoosh. Fang Chen breathed a sigh of relief and walked out of the void. I'm still not strong enough. Fang Chen muttered to himself. Xu Zun's strength was weak to begin with, and he could not use his trump card, so he could easily kill him. If he encountered some genius martial artists, it would be difficult. All in all, his first battle in the divine world was fruitful. Next, I have to leave the South Tomb Sword Palace's territory as soon as possible. Fang Chen said to himself. If the South Tomb Sword Palace discovered that the ant eggs had disappeared, they would definitely be furious. At that time, they would definitely investigate the entire territory. And the forbidden area that he had guarded for more than 2 years would definitely be listed as a target of suspicion. Therefore, no matter what, he could not be caught by the South Tomb Sword Palace. Otherwise, only death would await him. In the following time, Fang Chen traversed the 100,000 mountains. The 100,000 mountains were endless. There were often some dangers here. Fortunately, Fang Chen was a spacetime cultivator, and his survival skills were superb. Most of the time, they managed to avoid the attacks without any mishaps. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. Fang Chen was still traversing the 100,000 mountains. I wonder when we can leave. Fang Chen sighed. Boss, let's take a detour. The core area of the 100,000 mountains is too dangerous. Little Mouse reminded him. Fang Chen nodded. He had already thought of this. That's the only way. For safety's sake, they could only choose to take a detour. After deciding to take a detour, Fang Chen and Little Mouse quickly moved forward. However, in a dense forest, they encountered a battle. The battle was very fierce, and almost all of them were experts at the peak of the Eternal Realm. Who are these people? Why are they fighting? Fang Chen hid outside the forest and secretly watched. The commotion inside was so loud that it was deafening. The terrifying aura continued to sweep across the area. Boss, what should we do? Little Mouse asked solemnly. Experts at the peak of the Eternal Realm could easily kill them. Let's go. Fang Chen said decisively and immediately prepared to leave. However, at this time, the battle in the forest seemed to have come to an end. Dong. The entire ground trembled, and the dense forest was destroyed in an instant. Fang Chen was also nearly hit by the air currents. That was close. Fang Chen got up from the ground and said with lingering fear, Boss, look. Little Mouse cried out. Fang Chen turned his head to look and was shocked to discover a large pit in the forest. Several experts of the Eternal Realm who had been fighting fiercely before were lying in the big pit. They are all dead. Suddenly, a weak voice came from the big pit. Save me. Fang Chen was stunned for a moment. Then, he looked over and saw a white-clothed man who was on the verge of death. The other 4 had all died. Chapter 1667. The white-clothed man in the pit was covered in blood and his aura was weak. Beside him, there were 4 warriors who had already fallen. Fang Chen saw the battle clearly from afar. Among the 5, the white-clothed man was the strongest. Seeing the white-clothed man raise his palm with difficulty and ask for help, Fang Chen hesitated. Should he save or remedy it? If this was the lower realm, Fang Chen would have already saved him. However, this was the God realm. He could not do as he pleased. He had to be careful. There is no one else here. I can save him. After weighing the pros and cons, Fang Chen decided to save the white-clothed warrior. He quickly walked into the pit and came to the white-clothed warrior's side. Seeing this, the latter revealed an excited smile. "Who are you?" Fang Chen asked. The white-clothed man opened his mouth but could not speak. His injuries were too serious. His vitality was fading. There was no hope of survival. With great difficulty, he took out a rag from his bosom and handed it to Fang Chen. "Take this to the Black Dragon sect." After saying this sentence intermittently, the white-clothed warrior was completely dead. Fang Chen looked at the rag in his hand with a face full of doubts. "Boss, could this rag be a treasure map?" Little Mouse asked. After a long time, Fang Chen shook his head and said, "I can't see anything for the time being." "Then what should we do next?" Little Mouse asked. "Let's go. Let's leave the 100,000 mountains first," Fang Chen said. He secretly remembered the 3 words Black Dragon sect in his heart. If there was a chance, he would definitely send this rag to the Black Dragon sect. However, not long after Fang Chen and Little Mouse left, countless ear-piercing sounds suddenly appeared in the void. Immediately after, many warriors appeared in front of the pit. There was a fierce battle here. "Look, it's junior brother Shui and the others." The leading warriors quickly came to the pit. After checking, they found that junior brother Shui and the others had already died. "Check his body," Zhao Yu said. The leader, a martial artist with a face full of stubble, pointed at the martial artist in white not far away. After inspecting the items, the disciples shook their heads. "No." The bearded warrior frowned and said, "Someone has been here. He must not have gone far. Go after him." After saying that, the many cultivators quickly left this place. Walking through the 100,000 mountains, Fang Chen had no idea that someone was chasing after him and the little mouse. He and the little mouse traveled quickly. The deeper they went into the Shiwen Mountains, the more dangerous it was. Not long ago, Fang Chen had encountered a high-level divine beast of the 10,000 ancient realm. Fortunately, he had used the time and space book to escape in time. Otherwise, he would have lost his life. "I wonder when we'll be able to leave the 100,000 mountains." Fang Chen sighed. As long as they left the territory of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb, they could use the teleportation formation to head to the Celestial Bone Palace. Once they reached the Sky Bone Palace, they would be safe. Roar. Just as Fang Chen and the little mouse were making their way through, a furious roar suddenly rang out. It was deafening. "Yes, there's a divine beast up ahead." Fang Chen's expression changed drastically. The beast's roar caused him to be extremely fearful. "Boss, look." The little mouse's eyes suddenly widened as it stared in front of it. Fang Chen followed his gaze and discovered that on a mountain peak in front of him, a figure was fighting fiercely with a divine beast. That's the winged serpent race's divine beast. The lower realms also had the winged serpent race, but they couldn't compare to the divine world. This winged serpent race's divine beast had over 100 heads. Its attack power was extremely high. This winged serpent race's attack power is too strong. Fang Chen sighed. However, what shocked him even more was the figure fighting the winged serpent. Strange, this cultivator's aura clearly hasn't reached the 10,000 ancient realm. "How can he deal with the winged serpent?" muttered the little mouse. Fang Chen narrowed his eyes and stared at the mountain peak. The figure wasn't as fast as the winged serpent, but every time the winged serpent attacked, it would be forced back by some kind of aura. The winged serpent fled in the blink of an eye. How boring. The figure spread out his hands helplessly. However, at that moment, he saw Fang Chen and the little mouse. "You too," whoosh. In an instant, he appeared in front of Fang Chen. "Fellow Daoist, we just happened to pass by. We didn't mean to disturb you," said Fang Chen hurriedly. It was a young man. He looked younger than Fang Chen, and there was a hint of immaturity on his face. However, Fang Chen didn't dare to underestimate him. The winged serpent escaped. "Come and play with me." The figure stared at Fang Chen and chuckled. Fang Chen shook his head and said, "Even the winged serpent can't defeat you. How can I, a mere first-level Eternal Realm martial artist, fight with you?" The young man in front of him gave Fang Chen a very scary feeling. Especially when his eyes looked over, Fang Chen felt his scalp tingle. I haven't met a human martial artist in the 100,000 mountains for a long time. I fight with divine beasts every day. The young man said, my father gave me a mission. I have to fight 100,000 battles in the 100,000 mountains before I can leave. Fang Chen was slightly shocked when he heard this. It seemed that the young man's father wasn't an ordinary person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made such a request. Boy, I'll play with you. The little mouse jumped to the ground and looked at the young man. You haven't even reached the eternal realm. Can you withstand a punch from me? The young man smiled. Don't talk nonsense. Do you want to play or not? The little mouse was a little angry when he heard the young man's words. Okay, if you want to play, I'll play with you. After saying that, the young man's body was filled with a dense red light. He clenched his fist and punched out. Suddenly, the surrounding space became somewhat chaotic. So hot. Fang Chen stared at the young man and sensed the flame aura on his body. Bang! The young man's punch shattered the little mouse's purple halo defense, and the latter's body was sent flying. Hey, your defense is pretty good. The young man was a little curious about the little mouse and continued to attack. Bang! Bang! The battle that followed was almost one-sided. The little mouse was simply no match for the young man. After being attacked by the young man for so long, the little mouse finally found an opportunity and used 3 of his innate divine abilities in one breath. U3, first was the devouring divine ability. A terrifying devouring power instantly spread out. Hiss! The devouring power collided with the fiery red light around the young man's body, and a dazzling light burst out. Crack! The devouring power was finally defeated by the fiery red light. The devouring divine ability had lost its effect. Next was the second innate divine ability, extreme piercing. The purple spear carried a terrifying power as it pierced through the void and arrived in front of the young man. However, the shocking thing was that the young man was actually able to grab the spear. The piercing power is quite strong. The young man nodded. As expected, the third innate divine ability was also neutralized by the young man. Fang Chen was somewhat shaken. A life and death expert was actually this powerful? Could it be that the divine world was filled with monsters like this? According to Fang Chen's guess, this young man should be from some major power or major family's younger generation. I'm not fighting anymore. You're too monstrous. The little mouse finally admitted defeat and stopped fighting. The young man was somewhat curious about the little mouse and carefully observed it. How strange. There's actually an expert like you in the mouse race. Although the young man was young, he had a certain understanding of the little mouse's 3 innate divine abilities. Unfortunately, he didn't know about the heaven-devouring divine rat. Which race are you from? Asked the young man. I've been following Boss since I was born. As for which race I'm from, I don't know. The little mouse naturally wouldn't say. The heaven-devouring divine rat was one of a kind in the universe. If the outside world learned of this, it would definitely bring about a fatal disaster. The young man was somewhat curious, but his gaze fell on Fang Chen. Come and fight with me. His intuition told him that this person's strength shouldn't be below the little mouse's. I'm not your opponent, said Fang Chen frankly. The young man had a powerful trump card. At most, he would be able to escape unscathed. Chapter 1668. Helpless, he could only fight the young man. I'm going to attack, the young man said softly. The tender young man softly said. Soon after, he waved his small hand and a fiery red aura immediately spread out. The undying flame appeared around Fang Chen's body, and the rich power of the law of fire revolved around him. Undying flame's law of fire. The young man's eyes widened as he looked at Fang Chen. A human martial artist actually possessed the undying flame in his body. This was not common. Seeing this, the young man punched out. Fang Chen felt that this punch contained a strange fluctuation. He didn't fight it head-on. Instead, he used the time-space book and hid himself in the void. Where is he? The young man looked around in shock. Whoosh! Over 10,000 sword lights emerged from the void, carrying terrifying sword chi as they shot towards the young man. The young man didn't panic at all. He punched out several times in a row. Immediately, the terrifying sword Qi was defeated. However, at this time, the young man waved his hand and stopped fighting. Your concealment technique is too strong. If you continue to hide, even I won't be able to do anything to you, the young man said frankly. Fang Chen nodded, not saying anything. My name is Zhu Fa. What's your name? The young man stretched out his hand. Fang Chen. He also stretched out his hand and shook the young man's hand. I feel that you're very interesting. How about we travel together? Zhu Fa smiled. Fang Chen could see that Zhu Fa was inexperienced and didn't have many schemes in his heart. After thinking for a moment, he nodded. Hoo! Hoo! Countless sounds of breaking air rang out. Then, the cultivators chasing Fang Chen arrived. Right here. A heavy voice came from the void. Countless cultivators landed on the ground, surrounding Fang Chen and the young man. Kid, hand over the thing. A cultivator with a stubbled face said in a deep voice, his killing intent overflowing. I was just worried that I wouldn't have an opponent. Zhu Fa smiled without any fear. It seems you don't plan on handing it over, said the stubbled cultivator. Kill them. Under the command of the bearded martial artist, everyone attacked with lightning speed. Brother Fang, watch me. Zhu Fa took the initiative to attack. This time, he didn't hold back. Rumble Zhu Fa's body was constantly emitting a strong flame aura. In an instant, the area had turned into a sea of fire. The Eternal Realm experts trapped in the sea of fire screamed in agony. Ah, Huiling Qiankuan, you are from the Zhu clan. Not good, run. Everyone panicked and tried their best to escape, but it was too late. Now you know it's useless. The temperature in the sea of fire rose sharply, and in the blink of an eye, these Eternal Realm cultivators were refined. Seeing this, Fang Chen was shocked. The natives of the God Realm simply could not be measured with common sense. A life and death realm expert actually had such a fighting strength. While putting away the sea of flames, Zhu Fa came to Fang Chen's side. Brother Fang, how is it? Zhu Fa asked. I admire Brother Zhu's strength, Fang Chen said. Zhu Fa spread out his hands and said, actually, it's nothing. In the God Realm, we are born with life and death cultivation. It won't take long for us to reach the Eternal Realm. My talent is relatively poor. I haven't stepped into the Eternal Realm even though I'm in my teens. Fang Chen nodded. He had learned a little about it in the servant hall. Some of the natives of the God Realm had children who were born in the Life and Death Realm. This was because only Life and Death Realm cultivators could resist the pressure of the God Realm. Therefore, the lower realms could not be compared to the God Realm. Brother Zhu, I heard them say that you are from the Zhu clan. I presume the Zhu clan must be a noble family, Fang Chen asked. Hearing the two words Zhu clan, confusion appeared on Zhu Fa's face. After a long time, he sighed. To tell you the truth, the reason why they are so frightened is because they think I am from the real Zhu clan, Zhu Fa said slowly. The real Zhu clan Fang Chen was still somewhat puzzled. In the God Realm, apart from the 7 peak powers, the Zhu clan is the most authoritative and powerful family. The Zhu clan I belong to is merely a branch that was driven out of the clan, Zhu Fa said. As a member of the Zhu clan, they were chased out. This was the greatest humiliation of their branch. I'm sorry. Fang Chen also didn't know that he would ask about Zhu Fa's sad matter. He cupped his hands apologetically. However, Fang Chen had a flash of inspiration in his mind. He didn't know if the Zhu Lei he had met in the Star Ruins was a member of the Zhu clan. It's nothing. In any case, I'm already used to it. After leaving the Zhu clan, our branch can still live very well, Zhu Fa said calmly. Fang Chen nodded. After thinking about it, he decided to ask. Brother Zhu Fa, I want to ask you about a person. I don't know if you've heard of him, Fang Chen said. Who? Zhu Lei. You know him? Zhu Fa looked at Fang Chen. Fang Chen shook his head. I've only heard about him from others. He's a member of the Zhu clan. I'm not too sure about the specifics. Fang Chen clenched his fists, remembering Zhu Lei's name in his heart. There were too many things he needed to do after coming to the God Realm. First of all, he needed to find his wife, Star and Moon. She had given him a token. Within a certain distance, the token would change. But now, the token hadn't changed at all. This meant that the distance between him and star and moon was too far. In the following time, Fang Chen and Zhu Fa traveled through the 100,000 mountain range. With Zhu Fa's help, they didn't encounter any danger. However, the 100,000 mountain range was simply too big. They couldn't leave it in a short time. Along the way, they encountered many divine beasts. Fang Chen's strength gradually increased as he fought against these divine beasts. This was especially true for his illusion law. After continuous tempering, it had become even more powerful. 3 months later, his illusion law had reached the realm of 7 stars. Fang Chen could now use the illusion law at will. Roar. While moving forward, they suddenly heard the roar of a divine beast. Zhu Fa wanted to take action, but was stopped by Fang Chen. "Brother Zhu Fa, try my illusion law." Fang Chen smiled and took a step forward. In an instant, a huge divine beast appeared in front of Fang Chen. Roar. This divine beast was very powerful. Its appearance caused the ground to tremble. Illusion. Fang Chen opened his eyes and emitted a strong hallucinogenic aura. In an instant, the power of the illusion law in the air emerged. The divine beast that was bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws suddenly became like a walking corpse. Amazing. Zhu Fa, who was not far away, sighed. The illusion law was very strong. The slightest carelessness would cause one to fall into an illusion. No wonder before he came to the 100,000 mountain range, his father told him to be careful when encountering a divine beast with the illusion law. "Of course my boss is amazing," the little mouse said. Boom. Under the effect of the illusion law, the divine beast had no power to resist and was killed by Fang Chen. "Brother Fang, your weapon is too outdated." After seeing Fang Chen's star-concealing sword, Zhu Fa grinned and said, "No one would use such a trash weapon. Could it be that you ascended from the lower realm?" Zhu Fa was very curious. This kind of weapon was too trash. The divine world's divine weapons were everywhere. The weapon in Fang Chen's hand was far inferior to the lowest level low-grade divine weapon, yet it was used as a weapon by him. Although divine weapon and divine weapon were only 1 word apart, the difference was thousands of miles. Only after coming to the divine world did he realize that the so-called divine weapons of the lower realm were simply mortal weapons. The weapons of the divine world were called divine weapons. The lowest level was low-grade divine weapon, followed by middle-grade divine weapon and high-grade divine weapon. Fang Chen's star-concealing sword could only be regarded as a rank 9 divine weapon. It was still some distance away from being a divine weapon. Low-grade divine weapons were everywhere in the divine world. Compared to Fang Chen's weapon, it was indeed a bit shabby. "I haven't found a suitable weapon for the time being. Moreover, it has been with me for a long time. I can't bear to change it," Fang Chen said. CCC Pavilion Zhu Fa nodded. "Brother Fang, when you leave the 100,000 mountain range, come to my Zhu family. I will find someone to help you improve the weapon's grade." "Then, many thanks, Brother Zhu." Fang Chen cupped his fists and thanked him. Indeed, the strength of a weapon directly affected the strength of a divine beast. Fang Chen was at a disadvantage because of his weapon. The strongest rank 9 divine weapon in the lower realm was inferior to trash in the divine world. Fang Chen sighed. The divine world was indeed the divine world. Chapter 1669. During their journey with Zhu Fa, they didn't encounter any danger. However, when Fang Chen and the others arrived at the core of the 100,000 Great Mountains, they encountered a strange thing. The scene before them caused Fang Chen and Zhu Fa's faces to change. There were corpses everywhere. Their deaths were too horrible to look at. "What's going on?" Zhu Fa was somewhat puzzled. He walked over to the corpses and carefully observed them. After observing them, Zhu Fa discovered that there was a large hole in the head of each of the corpses. "They were all killed by a blow to the head," said Zhu Fa. Fang Chen nodded. In truth, he had also noticed it. The yuan spirits of these dead cultivators had disappeared. Could it be that they were killed by some divine beast? Fang Chen guessed inwardly. If it was a human cultivator, then such a method would be too cruel. While Ju Fa was pondering, Fang Chen casually glanced at the corpses and saw an unexpected scene. In the clothes of one of the dead cultivators, there was an item that was exactly the same as the rag he had obtained before. He quickly arrived in front of the cultivator, pulled open his clothes, and picked up the rag. It's exactly the same. Fang Chen's heart shook. This rag was exactly the same as the one he had obtained before. What did this mean? Could it really be a treasure map? Fang Chen racked his brains. Brother Fang, what did you discover? Seeing this, Ju Fa walked over and asked. Fang Chen glanced at Ju Fa. He didn't conceal anything and told him everything. What? You're saying that we were chased because of this rag, said Ju Fa in surprise. Fang Chen also took out the rag he had obtained before. When the two pieces of rag were put together, he immediately made an astonishing discovery. If my guess is correct, these two pieces of rag should be the location of some treasure, said Ju Fa solemnly. His eyes also flashed with a trace of burning desire. As everyone knew, the 100,000 Great Mountains contained the inheritances left behind by countless peerless experts. The 100,000 Great Mountains were extremely mystical. It was said that no one had ever truly been able to walk through the 100,000 Great Mountains. The 100,000 mountains had been extremely strange since ancient times. Over the years, from time to time, there would be martial artists who would find some inheritances in the 100,000 mountains and soar into the sky. When these two rags are put together, the place they point to seems somewhat familiar to me. Ju Fa pondered. There should be more than two rags on this treasure map. However, when the two pieces of rags were put together, some useful clues could be found. From these clues, Ju Fa seemed to know the approximate location of the treasure trove. This red line is the spine of the Holy Dragon Mountain Range. If my guess is correct, the treasure should be in the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range, Ju Fa said in a deep voice. He was very confident in his guess. Then, Ju Fa's gaze landed on Fang Chen. In his heart, he was quite touched. They had never met before, but the other party was willing to share such important information with him. What do you mean? Ju Fa asked Fang Chen. I wonder if brother Ju Fa is interested. Let's go take a look together, Fang Chen asked with a smile. Ju Fa nodded. Then, he cupped his fists and said, Brother Fang, I, Ju Fa, will remember your kindness. Relatively speaking, Ju Fa was more familiar with the 100,000 mountains. The Sacred Dragon Mountain Range was one of the more famous mountain ranges in the 100,000 mountains. This mountain range was endless. When Fang Chen and Ju Fa arrived in front of the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range, Fang Chen realized how big it was. It was no exaggeration to say that the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range had already surpassed the Green Bamboo Island of the lower realms. It's really big, Fang Chen sighed. Brother Fang, this is the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range. Legend has it that a true dragon once appeared in the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range. However, that is a legend from a very, very long time ago. Some elders even said that this legend was passed down from the previous era, Ju Fa said with a smile. Fang Chen nodded. He secretly remembered what Ju Fa had said. However, at this moment, a light flashed in his mind. The Black Dragon Sect and the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range. Could there be some connection between the two? For a moment, Fang Chen fell into contemplation. The first rag was given to him by the white-clothed cultivator he saved. Before he died, he asked him to deliver it to the Black Dragon Sect. And now, the place the rag was pointing to was called the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range. According to Ju Fa, a true dragon once appeared in the Sacred Dragon Mountain Range. Black Dragon Sect, Sacred Dragon Mountain Range, True Dragon. Between these three, there was the word dragon. Fang Chen vaguely felt that perhaps the legend of the true dragon was true. Just as Fang Chen was pondering, he was suddenly awakened by Ju Fa's voice. Brother Fang, what are you thinking about? Ju Fa asked. Fang Chen shook his head and said, nothing. By the way, brother Ju Fa, I want to ask you something. What is it? Ju Fa said. Do you know the Black Dragon Sect? Fang Chen asked. Black Dragon Sect, Brother Fang, are you a disciple of the Black Dragon Sect? Fang Chen shook his head and said, I have a good friend in the Black Dragon sect. I'm going to look for him. So that's how it is. The Black Dragon sect is quite famous on the other side of the 100,000 Great Mountains. However, there is still some gap between them and our Jew family's branch. I heard from my father that the Black Dragon sect was once very glorious and could even stand shoulder to shoulder with those top forces. But later, for some reason, it gradually declined, Fa said slowly. Oh, there is such a thing. The Black Dragon sect has a very long history, even longer than our Jew family. The Black Dragon sect already existed in the last era, Fa said. Hearing this, Fang Chen's heart shook even more. At the same time, he was even more certain of some of his speculations. The Black Dragon sect existed in the last era and was once glorious. It just so happened that the legend of the true dragon appearing in the sacred Dragon Mountain range was also passed down from the last era. Combining all kinds of information, Fang Chen felt that this was not a coincidence. Someone is coming. Suddenly, Fa said in a deep voice. Suddenly, several sounds of breaking through the air were heard. Immediately after, 3 cultivators appeared not far away. I was wondering who it was. So it's Fa from the Jew family. A golden-haired cultivator said with a smile. Fa, you haven't even stepped into the immemorial realm, yet you dare to come to the 100,000 Great Mountains? You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Why are you in such a hurry to come to the 100,000 Great Mountains to die? The 3 cultivators said with a hint of ridicule in their words. Mph, if the Heaven Weeping sect can come, why can't I? Fa said coldly without showing any weakness. Fang Chen glanced at the 3 cultivators. Their cultivation was at the lower level of the immemorial realm. The strongest was the golden-haired cultivator, whose cultivation was at the 3rd level of the immemorial realm. Judging from Fa's tone, he should know these 3 people. Hey, Fa, you can't be thinking that you can challenge us just because you found a helper, the golden-haired cultivator said with a laugh. He's just a 1st level of the immemorial realm trash. It seems that your Jew family has really declined. You even took a fancy to this kind of trash. Yeah, any random disciple of our Heaven Weeping sect is stronger than this guy. The 3 people's ridicule made Fang Chen frown slightly. Brother Fang, don't pay attention to them. The Heaven Weeping sect has business dealings with our Jew family, but a few days ago, for some reason, our Jew family cut off our business dealings with them, causing them to suffer heavy losses. Since then, they have regarded our Jew family as a thorn in their side, Fa explained in a low voice. Fa, what are you doing in the sacred Dragon Mountain range? The golden-haired cultivator asked with a dignified expression after laughing. Do I need to report my arrival to the Heaven Weeping sect? Fa was too lazy to pay attention to the 3 disciples of the Heaven Weeping sect. Fa, I think you're tired of living. This is the 100,000 Great Mountains. Even if we kill you, your good-for-nothing father won't know, the golden-haired cultivator said with a smile. The other 2 also burst into laughter. The word good-for-nothing deeply stung Fa's heart. You're courting death. Fa shouted in a low voice and immediately shot out. However, his attack was instantly blocked by the golden-haired cultivator. It seems that you really don't want to live anymore. A ball of icy aura appeared in the golden-haired cultivator's palm. With a wave of his hand, it immediately wrapped around Fa. Not good. Fang Chen shouted inwardly. Fa wasn't a match for the golden-haired cultivator. Crash. Using the time-space book, Fang Chen's figure appeared beside Fa like a ghost. Chapter 1670. Although Fa had great potential and profound means, he was still an ancient immortal. After all, he had not stepped into the eternal realm and was at an absolute disadvantage in terms of cultivation. On the other hand, the cultivation base of the golden-haired cultivator was at the 3rd layer of the ancient immortal realm. Although his attack wasn't too outstanding, it wasn't something that Fa could withstand. After bringing Fa back, Fang Chen looked at the golden-haired cultivator with a smile. A 3rd layer of the ancient immortal realm martial artist bullying a life-and-death cultivator. Isn't that a little too low? The golden-haired cultivator's attack had failed, and he was a little angry. Kid, who are you? The golden-haired cultivator asked coldly. Since you're standing up for Defy, you should be prepared to suffer our wrath. Another person stepped forward and said, "What's the point of talking nonsense with him? Just kill him." In any case, their heaven-weeping sect had enmity with the Jew clan. With such a good opportunity, they had to get rid of Defy. Of the 3 people from the heaven-weeping sect, the golden-haired cultivator was at the 3rd layer of the ancient immortal realm, while the other 2 were at the 2nd layer of the ancient immortal realm. The 3 of them emitted powerful auras as they prepared to attack. The dignified heaven-weeping sect only knows how to bully with numbers. "I feel ashamed for you," Fang Chen sneered. Hearing this, the 3 stopped and looked at each other in dismay. "Kid, don't talk nonsense. Do we need to bully with numbers to deal with trash like you? Ridiculous." The golden-haired cultivator was stunned for a moment before he reprimanded. Defy understood the heaven-weeping sect better. He was currently explaining the heaven-weeping sect to Fang Chen through sound transmission. "Brother Fang, the heaven-weeping sect's most powerful divine art is a sound wave attack. You have to be careful when fighting." Defy continued. "Also, the heaven-weeping sect's cultivator's biggest weakness is their weak physical body. Under normal circumstances, they rely on sound wave attacks and won't engage in close combat. However, once they encounter a cultivator with a powerful Yuan spirit who isn't afraid of sound wave attacks, they'll be miserable." Hearing this, Fang Chen nodded slightly. It seemed that the heaven-weeping sect's cultivators were afraid of close combat. If that was the case, he had more confidence in dealing with the golden-haired cultivator. "To tell you the truth, I'm a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace. I entered the 100,000 Mountains this time to complete a mission." Fang Chen directly used the South Tomb Sword Palace's tiger skin to scare the heaven-weeping sect for 3 days. "Who are you trying to fool? How could the Sword Palace of the South Tomb have a disciple as weak as you?" The golden-haired warrior sneered. "That's right. If you are a disciple of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb, then I would be an elder of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb. I'm also the master of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb." The warrior with the battle axe laughed loudly. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the other 2 people's expressions instantly turned grave. "Third brother, don't talk nonsense," the golden-haired warrior scolded. South Tomb Sword Palace, one of the top 7 powers in the realm of the gods. As for the South Ridge Sword Master, he was one of the strongest experts in the divine realm. The 100,000 Mountains was within the territory of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb. If the Sword Master of the South Tomb heard about it, he would definitely die. The South Ridge Sword Master was a great devil who killed without batting an eyelid. It was said that there was once a top powerhouse who challenged the Sword Palace of the South Tomb. The Sword Master of South Ridge had killed the other party with a single strike of his sword. Then, he had wiped out the other party's entire clan. It shook the entire realm of the gods. There was a very deep enmity between the South Tomb Sword Palace and the Heaven Bone Palace. It was said that the Bone Progenitor had once fought with the South Ridge Sword Master. However, no one knew who won or lost. The battle-axe-wielding warrior felt that he had misspoken and hastily shut his mouth. "Brat, you speak too much nonsense." The golden-haired warrior didn't want to waste any more time. His aura fluctuated as he prepared to attack Fang Chen. However, Fang Chen wasn't afraid in the slightest and sneered. "You should think carefully about the consequences of attacking a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace." Fang Chen spread out his hands. Seeing Fang Chen's fearless appearance, the 3 of them hesitated. If this person was truly a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace, then they absolutely wouldn't dare to attack him. "Boss." The other 2 looked at the golden-haired warrior. The reason they hesitated was because no one had ever dared to pretend to be a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace. Once this was known, it would be a capital offense. Defy, who was standing behind Fang Chen, was also stunned. "So Brother Fang is a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace. No wonder I felt that his background was extraordinary." Fang Chen saw their hesitation and continued, "To tell you the truth, my grandfather is an elder of the South Tomb Sword Palace. I made an exception to join the South Tomb Sword Palace. This trip to the 100,000 Mountains is a test for me. Once I complete the test, I can become a core disciple of the South Tombsword Palace. Hearing that, the three of them hesitated even more. Could it be that you think there is someone in this world who is tired of living and dares to pretend to be a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace? Asked Fang Chen. Then why are you with Defy? Asked the golden-haired warrior. I already said that my mission is a bit difficult, so I met Defy on the way and asked him to help me. If I can complete my mission, I will introduce Defy to the South Tombsword Palace. Fang Chen laughed heartily. To the side, Defy was stunned for a moment before he understood Fang Chen's meaning. He said very cooperatively, Young Master Fang, don't worry. I, Defy, will definitely help you complete your mission. The revival of my Ju family will depend on you, young Master Fang. Defy's words caused the three from the Heaven Weeping sect to hesitate even more. Boss, he really seems to be a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace, muttered the battle-axe-wielding warrior. This, the golden-haired warrior frowned and asked, Are you really a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace? It's the real deal. Fang Chen patted his chest and said, What proof do you have? Asked the golden-haired warrior. Proof? Do you still need proof? As soon as Fang Chen finished speaking, his figure disappeared. Can you discover me? Fang Chen's voice rang out from the void. His voice echoed in all directions. For a moment, the three from the Heaven Weeping sect were unable to catch sight of Fang Chen. Boss, it seems to be true. A second-level 10,000 ancient realm cultivator with such ability. Apart from the South Tombsword Palace, I'm afraid no other sect's disciple can do this, said another. But even so, it can't prove that he's a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace, whispered the golden-haired warrior. Right now, he was in a dilemma. If the other party was really a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace, he wouldn't dare to attack even if he had 100 times the courage. However, he was somewhat worried that the other party was deceiving him. However, just as he was pondering, a vast aura suddenly came from the distance. Buzz! A 30-meter-tall purple rat phantom instantly appeared. Kill! When the purple rat phantom appeared, Fang Chen also walked out from the void. The purple rat phantom uttered the word kill coldly and then attacked Fang Chen. Dong! The two of them exchanged a punch and the purple rat phantom cried out involuntarily. You're a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace. Then, before Fang Chen could say anything, he disappeared. The three from the Heaven Weeping sect looked at each other. The last trace of doubt in their hearts was completely dispelled. Even the divine beast of the 100,000 Great Mountains said that he was a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace. It shouldn't be a coincidence. Hehe, brother, I'm really sorry. The golden-haired warrior laughed mischievously. Yeah, if we knew that Defy was your subordinate, we wouldn't have dared to touch him even if we had 100 times the courage. Brother, I wonder if the three of us can help you complete the mission. Fang Chen spread his hands and said, Of course, as long as you help me complete the mission, I will do my best to introduce you to the South Tombsword Palace. The temptation of the South Tombsword Palace was too great. After the three from the Heaven Weeping sect heard it, their minds were blown and they didn't doubt it at all. Don't worry, from now on, we will listen to your orders like Defy, said the golden-haired warrior solemnly. Fang Chen nodded calmly. Seeing that you're sensible, I'll take you along. However, you have to tell me why you came to the sacred Dragon Mountain range. Hearing those words, the faces of the trio warped slightly. Although it was only a slight change, it was still caught by Fang Chen. This, the golden-haired warrior hesitated for a moment, but still said it. To tell you the truth, we've obtained some clues. It seems that a treasure is about to appear in the sacred Dragon Mountain range. It's not just us, the other nearby sect have also sent their disciples here, said the golden-haired warrior. A treasure is about to appear. Fang Chen frowned. Behind him, Defy resisted the urge to laugh. Chapter 1671. The three from the Heaven Weeping sect wanted to hug Fang Chen's thigh. What a joke. If they could form a relationship with a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace, their future would be limitless. Most importantly, if they helped them complete this mission, they would have the opportunity to enter the South Tombsword Palace. This was a temptation that no cultivator could resist. Where did you get this information? Asked Fang Chen. According to what the three of them had said, it seemed that the place indicated by the two rags really was the sacred Dragon Mountain range. His guess was becoming more and more correct. The sacred Dragon Mountain range should be related to true dragons. I'm not sure. In any case, this news has already spread throughout this region. However, said the golden-haired cultivator. However, what? However, the information we received is that the South Tombsword Palace doesn't seem to be participating in this battle for the treasure. The golden-haired cultivator was implying why Fang Chen would appear here. Fang Chen chuckled. Soon after, he said, since I have encountered it, I will definitely investigate it properly. What other information do you know? Tell me everything. If I'm happy, I'll definitely reward you. The golden-haired cultivator said, there's almost no other information. Young Master Fang, let's leave this place as soon as possible. It won't be long before the disciples of the other sect arrive. At that time, conflicts will inevitably occur. Let's go. The golden-haired cultivator led the way while Fang Chen and Zhu Fa followed behind. Whoosh. When the three of them weren't paying attention, the little mouse dove into Fang Chen's embrace. Along the way, the golden-haired cultivator and the others scrambled to curry favor with Fang Chen. They already regarded Fang Chen as a true disciple of the South Tombsword Palace. As long as they could befriend him, a meteoric rise would not be a dream. Brother Fang, are you really a disciple of the South Tombsword Palace? Zhu Fa secretly transmitted. Fang Chen chuckled. What do you think? Zhu Fa shook his head. He already knew the answer, but he didn't point it out. If they discover us, a huge battle will be unavoidable. Zhu Fa transmitted. No need to worry. In this way, the group entered the sacred Dragon Mountain range. The spine of the Holy Dragon Mountain range was located in the center of the mountain range. It spanned across several regions and was extremely huge. After entering the sacred Dragon Mountain range, the few of them seemed very small. From time to time, they would encounter divine beasts. However, there was basically no need for Fang Chen and Zhu Fa to take action. The three from Heaven Weeping sect would help them deal with them. After traveling for about 3 days, they finally encountered another group of people. According to the golden-haired martial artist's introduction, this wave of people were Luhe City's disciples. Fang Chen glanced at them. The few disciples who were green were not very strong. Hey, isn't this golden retriever? Why are you here? A disciple who was the leader of the green team sneered when he saw the golden-haired man. Bastard, do you want to die? The golden-haired martial artist hated being called golden hair the most. However, Green Fusion's disciples seemed to be specifically mocking him. Golden hair, is there no one else in your Heaven Weeping Gate? You actually brought along such trash. Ha ha ha, am I seeing things? Zhu Fa is also here. Could it be that your Heaven Weeping sect has already reconciled with the Zhu clan? Their mockery completely infuriated the golden retriever. You are all courting death. The golden-haired martial artist shouted in a low voice. He immediately leaped and his body floated in the sky. Buzz. A terrifying sound wave attack instantly came out of the golden-haired martial artist's mouth. What a strange sound wave. Fang Chen could clearly feel that the sound wave released by the golden-haired martial artist was very strange. The sound waves rotated in the sky, forming an invisible symbol that enveloped the Luhe City's disciples. Miserable cries came from the mouths of the Luhe City's disciples. Some disciples could not withstand the sound wave attack. They bled from their 7 orifices and their primordial spirits shook. Courting death. A long spear appeared in the hand of the Luhe City's leader. Whoosh. The long spear pierced through the void, carrying a rippling power that shattered the golden-haired martial artist's sound wave attack. Go to hell. The long spear stabbed out and the world changed color. Fang Chen frowned. This Luhe City's disciple has actually comprehended the law of spears. Under normal circumstances, it was not easy to comprehend a law that was named after a weapon. The law of spears was similar to the law of swords and the law of sabers. This type of law had a very strong increase in strength and its attack power was extraordinary. The law of spears, coupled with the long spear, could affect the surrounding flow of time with every stab. Poochie, the golden-haired martial artist's sound wave attack was broken and his body rapidly retreated. Golden-haired, your heaven-weeping sect sound wave attack is only SOSO. The Luhur city's disciple sneered as he attacked. With a swing of his hand, the long spear carried the power of the law of spears and stabbed out again. This stab caused the golden-haired martial artist's expression to change drastically. He kept retreating. At the critical moment, Fang Chen made a move. Suddenly, a pair of large hands reached out from the void and pulled the golden-haired martial artist's body into the void. Poochie, the void where the golden-haired martial artist was chaotic and a terrifying vortex appeared. Inside the vortex, there was a heart-palpitating aura of spatial turbulence. What terrifying spear skills! Fang Chen thought to himself. This person's attainments in spear skills were too extraordinary. Moreover, he seemed to be born for the spear. Who are you? The spear-wielding Luhur city's disciple was stunned for a moment before he asked. "Mph, you have eyes but fail to recognize Mount Tai. You don't even recognize a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace." The golden-haired martial artist sneered. He stood behind Fang Chen, coldly looking at the spear-wielding martial artist. What South Tomb Sword Palace disciple? The Luhur city's disciple cried out in alarm. They stared at Fang Chen with their mouths agape. The name of the Sword Palace of the South Tomb gave them too much pressure. Isn't the South Tomb Sword Palace not participating in this battle for the supreme treasure? Asked the spear-wielding disciple. I just happened to be passing by and came to take a look. I wonder if you can give me some face and drop this matter. Fang Chen smiled. The spear-wielding disciple stared at Fang Chen for a long time. Since this fellow daoist from the South Tomb Sword Palace has said so, I will spare his dog life for now. Fang Chen cupped his fists and left with Ju Fei and the others. Seeing Fang Chen's departing figure, the Luhur city's disciples stepped forward. Senior apprentice brother, are we just going to let them go? What if this person is a fake? Bang! The spear-wielding disciple ruthlessly slapped the martial artist. Chapter 1672. Before Fang Chen and the others entered the core of the sacred Dragon Mountain range, they heard a rumor. Young Master Fang, there are some rumors about you outside. The group was resting on a blue stone. Suddenly, a panting cultivator ran over from afar. He was the Heaven Weeping sect's disciple with the battle axe. Yes. Fang Chen frowned and asked. Recently, countless cultivators have come to the sacred Dragon Mountain range. There are even disciples from some large sect. Now, there are rumors everywhere that young Master Fang obtained the treasure map of the sacred Dragon Mountain range. The battle axe-wielding disciple slowly said. Hearing this, Fang Chen's face turned completely gloomy. "Mph, this is a framing." The golden-haired cultivator said angrily. His body emitted a terrifying aura. The other Heaven Weeping sect's disciple was also somewhat puzzled. Who was the one who spread the news? Only Fang Chen and Ju Fei looked at each other. Ju Fei saw a trace of cold killing intent in Fang Chen's eyes. Green He City. Fang Chen made a mental note of Green He City. This matter was definitely caused by Green He City. Otherwise, it would be impossible for this news to spread. Only Ju Fei knew that he was carrying rags. They want to borrow the hands of other factions to kill me and then incur the anger of the South Tomb Sword Palace. Fang Chen sneered inwardly. If he was really a disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace, perhaps this vicious scheme might succeed. However, who would know that he was a fake? The next time we meet, I hope you will still be in good condition. Fang Chen's killing intent was aroused. Although the Green He City's disciples were strong, he was not afraid. Young Master Fang, what should we do now? There are many factions inquiring about your whereabouts. The battle axe-wielding disciple asked. The sacred Dragon Mountain range is so big. It will take some time for them to find us. Let's take advantage of this time to hurry. Fang Chen said. Speaking of which, they also had the advantage of time, place, and people. With 2 rags in their hands, they were almost certain that the treasure was on the ridge of the sacred Dragon Mountain range. In this way, the search area would be greatly reduced, and it would be much better than searching blindly. Moreover, when they joined forces, low-level Eternal Realm martial artists were no match for them. Unless the opponent was a mid-level 10,000 Ancient Realm expert. Even so, Fang Chen had the power to protect himself. The group of people stood up and quickly entered the forest. On the way, Fang Chen sent a sound transmission to Ju Fa. Brother Ju Fa, I've implicated you this time. Brother Fang, if you consider me a friend, then don't say such things in the future, Ju Fa said with some displeasure. Hearing this, Fang Chen revealed a smile on his face. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, they had been walking on the spine of the Holy Dragon Mountains for 5 days. Although it took a long time, he still managed to find some clues. In a certain dense forest, Fang Chen discovered that something was wrong. Actually, it was the Golden Heart that had discovered it. Suddenly, Fang Chen stopped in his tracks. He felt that the Golden Heart was beating even faster. This made him very puzzled. Could it be that the treasure is nearby? Fang Chen thought to himself. The others turned around and looked at Fang Chen in confusion. Young Master Fang, what's wrong? The golden-haired martial artist asked. Fang Chen shook his head and said, it's nothing. Let's go. After saying that, the group continued to move forward. However, what no one knew was that Fang Chen's doppelganger had quietly appeared and disappeared into the void. In order not to arouse suspicion, Fang Chen's original body walked with the 3 from the Heaven Weeping sect, while his doppelganger stayed here. Boss, what did you find? Little Mouse also stayed and asked curiously. There's a problem here. Fang Chen pointed to a piece of ground and said in a deep voice. It's nothing. Let me do it. Little Mouse opened his sharp claws and quickly dug the ground. After a while, he dug a passage. Boss, let's go in. Fang Chen nodded and entered. Little Mouse then restored the layer of soil above and placed the fallen leaves on top. Finally, he drilled into a hidden place and then drilled into the soil. Burrowing was an innate ability of the heaven-devouring divine rat clan. In the dark soil, Little Mouse was extremely fast and soon met up with his boss. How is it? Little Mouse asked. We have to continue diving, Fang Chen said. Okay. Little Mouse nodded and continued to burrow. This time, it took them an entire month. Fang Chen roughly estimated that with Little Mouse's speed, they had at least dived over 100 million li. Over 100 million li, and with such a thick layer of soil, even a peak Eternal Realm expert's divine sense would not be able to scan it in an instant. Huff. Little Mouse directly collapsed on the ground, panting. Boss, what's here? Little Mouse was worried that there would be nothing, and that their efforts would be in vain. If that was the case, he would be really depressed. After working hard for a day, it was almost as tiring as using 3 divine abilities in a row. You should cultivate first, Fang Chen urged. After diving down to this point, Fang Chen already had some ideas. Crash. Just as Fang Chen was observing his surroundings, he suddenly slipped under his feet. Immediately, he and the Little Mouse both fell down. Bang! Their bodies crashed heavily onto the ground. Fang Chen hurriedly got up, and the undying flame appeared. The pitch-black space suddenly became bright. Fang Chen opened his eyes wide and looked at the surrounding walls. There was a simple cave here, and there were some deep marks on the walls. At first glance, this cave seemed to have undergone the baptism of time. Could this be a cave that existed in the last epoch? The Golden Heart beat rapidly, and Fang Chen was full of doubts. After diving over 100 million li, they found this cave. And this cave was the main reason why the Golden Heart was attracted to it. Boss, the marks on the wall seem to be left by a divine beast, Little Mouse said. Can you identify which divine beast it is? Fang Chen asked. Little Mouse shook its head, and its little paws touched the marks on the wall, carefully sensing them. Although the marks are very shallow, I can see that the divine beast that left them must be very strong. Why do you say that? Fang Chen asked. Boss, look carefully. These marks seem to be in a mess, but they contain some complicated patterns, the Little Mouse said. Hearing this, Fang Chen hurriedly looked over. Suddenly, he felt his mind shake. It was as if he was in an illusory environment. Fang Chen was shocked. These messy marks actually contained terrifying profundities of the laws. A divine beast that can leave behind laws and mysteries on the wall with a casual wave of its hand. I'm afraid it might really be the legend of the true dragon passed down from the last epoch, Little Mouse said. The true dragon was an existence that stood at the peak of the beast world. In his inherited memories, he vaguely remembered that the true dragon and true phoenix were peak divine beasts. Marks left behind by the true dragon? Fang Chen's heartbeat sped up. If these were truly marks left behind by the true dragon, then this cave would definitely contain a heaven-shaking treasure. Little Mouse observed for a while, and then shook its head in confusion. Boss, these marks aren't as simple as you think. However, I keep feeling that they are related to the legend of the true dragon, but they aren't left behind by the true dragon, Little Mouse muttered. Fang Chen tried hard to suppress the shock in his heart. He took a deep breath and said, ever since we entered the sacred dragon mountain range, we have been influenced by the legend of the true dragon, causing our judgment to deviate greatly. Perhaps you are right. The marks here are most likely not left behind by the true dragon. Even the supreme existences of the god realm valued the true dragon very much. If there really were marks left behind by the true dragon, the peak experts of the god realm wouldn't be indifferent. After thinking about it, Fang Chen felt that this should be a misdirection. Then what's the meaning of these marks? Fang Chen frowned and racked his brains. In the sacred dragon mountain range, the disciples of the various sect had already arrived, and the place became lively. Of course, where there were people, there would be fighting. This place was no exception. Many sects had feuds, and when enemies met, their eyes would turn red. A fight to the death would break out. The battles were endless and chaotic. Chapter 1673. Young Master Fang, we've already asked around. Green He City has sent 35 disciples this time. Lu Hang is the leader of the younger generation in Green He City. His cultivation base has reached the 5th level Eternal Realm, the golden-haired cultivator said with a smile. As for the other disciples, they are nothing to be afraid of. They are all low-level Eternal Realm warriors. After this period of understanding, Fang Chen gradually understood the situation here. The extreme south of the God Realm was vast. The South Tomb Sword Palace occupied 80% of the territory. The remaining 20% of the territory was divided among the various large sects. With the 100,000 Mountains as the boundary, the vast land south of the 100,000 Mountains was the territory of the South Tomb Sword Palace. And to the north of the 100,000 Mountains was the territory of the other small sect. Under normal circumstances, the territory of the South Tomb Sword Palace was called the Southern Region, and the territory of the various large sect was called the Northern Region. It was no exaggeration to say that all the sect in the Northern Region combined were not as strong as one of the divisions of the South Tomb Sword Palace. As one of the top 7 forces of the God Realm, the South Tomb Sword Palace did not care about these small sect. If not for the rule of the God Realm that the top 7 forces could not attack a small sect for no reason, the Southern Region would have been unified long ago. And now, because of the legend of the true dragon, the various large sect in the Northern Region sent their disciples into the sacred Dragon Mountains. Fang Chen learned from the 3 disciples of the Heaven Weeping sect. The disciples of the sect in the Northern Region were all in the Eternal Realm. In the God Realm, the Life and Death Realm and the Eternal Realm were the lowest realms. They could not even be called divine spirits. Only those who reached the Life and Death Realm could adapt to the pressure of the God Realm. And in the eyes of the Almighty of the God Realm, the Eternal Realm was equivalent to a mortal. Only those who surpassed the Eternal Realm could be called divine spirits. Each large sect in the Northern Region had a divine spirit in charge. And the overlord of the Southern Region, the South Tomb Sword Palace, had countless divine spirits. Disciples of the Eternal Realm could only be considered official disciples. Only those who became divine spirits could be considered core disciples. Green He City's influence in the Northern Region was not too big, at most on par with the Heaven Weeping sect. Because the credibility of the legend of the true dragon was not high, Lu He City sent Lu Hang to lead a team to investigate. Other than Lu Hang, the others were nothing to be afraid of. LV Hang. Fang Chen secretly remembered this name. With his current strength, He could not fight against a mid-level Eternal Realm warrior. If he encountered Lu Hang, he would run away immediately. Young Master Fang, should we continue with the plan? Asked the disciple with the axe. In the past few days, taking advantage of the chaotic situation, he had already secretly killed 5 disciples of Luhe City. If Lu Hang knew about this, he would definitely be furious. Young Master Fang, this is a rare opportunity. I heard that Lu Hang is fighting with his sworn enemy and has no time to take care of his disciples. That's right, I also heard that Lu Hang is currently fighting Gui Ji of the Ghost Dragon sect on a certain mountain peak in the Sacred Dragon Mountain range. The golden-haired cultivator said, Gui Ji is very strong. Although he's only at the 4th level of the 10,000 Ancient Realm, he was able to resist LV Hang's attack with the help of the Ghost Dragon sect's divine skill. Some time ago, Gui Ji humiliated Lu Hang because of some matters. The two of them are sworn enemies. Every time they meet, they will fight to the death. Another black-robed disciple said, it's strange. Although Lu Hang is very angry, he can't do anything to Gui Ji. Ghost Dragon Sect, Gui Ji. Fang Chen said. The disciples of the Northern Region sect were gathered here. They could use this opportunity to find out how to leave the Northern Region. The plan remains the same. After thinking for a long time, Fang Chen said in a deep voice. The 3 from the Heaven Weeping sect quickly left and sneaked into the darkness, waiting for an opportunity to attack the disciples of Luhe City. In the pitch-black cave. After learning about the situation outside, Fang Chen breathed a sigh of relief. For the time being, his main body was not in any danger, and no one would come here. He had to speed up and find the mechanism in the cave. Fang Chen's palm gently touched the messy marks. Immediately, the wild profound mysteries of the law drilled into his mind. This is, the profound mysteries of the law of wind. The wild wind blew through his mind, and it was quite comfortable. Immediately after, Fang Chen's palm moved, and a scorching aura came. This was the profound mysteries of the law of flame. Fang Chen was a little surprised, and continued to move his palm. Every time he moved to a place, a profound mystery of the law would come. After a long time, Fang Chen's heart trembled. These marks actually contained so many profound mysteries of the law. While being shocked, Fang Chen was secretly delighted. What was the most important thing to comprehend the law? Needless to say, the most important thing was to comprehend the profound mysteries of the law. So far, Fang Chen had only comprehended 2 laws, the law of flame and the law of illusion. The more laws one comprehended, the more chances they had to come into contact with the laws. This is great. Fang Chen smiled brightly, and immediately told Little Mouse that he wanted to comprehend the law. Little Mouse stood guard at the side, while Fang Chen sat cross-legged in front of the wall. His hands were placed on the marks on the wall. A gentle breeze blew, and the golden heart beat rapidly. The law of wind in the air in the cave quickly rushed over. Hiss hiss hiss. A moment later, the law of wind revolved around Fang Chen's body. He opened his eyes, as if he was in a dream. So simple. Fang Chen did not dare to believe that he could comprehend the law of wind so easily. Actually, for people of the divine realm, comprehending the law was very simple. The hardest part was the laws. Continue. With this success, Fang Chen was even more confident. In the following time, he constantly moved his palm. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. He comprehended all 5 elemental laws, followed by the law of darkness, the law of ice, and the law of force. In a short 6 hours, Fang Chen comprehended 8 types of nomological laws. They were the law of metal, law of wood, law of water, law of earth, law of darkness, law of ice, and law of force. The most important one was the law of sword. When he comprehended the law of sword, it was as if his entire being had been sublimated. The golden heart was no longer the same as before. It was as if he had opened a door to the peak of the sword Tao. Vast knowledge of the sword Tao poured into his mind. After comprehending the law of sword, Fang Chen took the initiative to stop. There were still many law profound mysteries on the wall. However, Fang Chen did not want to continue comprehending. Comprehending so many laws all at once would cause his foundation to be unstable. The slightest carelessness would cause him to go berserk. He would wait until he had completely stabilized these laws before deciding whether to continue comprehending. The 5 elemental laws resonated with each other and were activated together to produce an unexpected effect. Fang Chen stood up and looked at the 5 completely different laws around him that were fusing with each other. He felt that it was inconceivable. Of course, the happiest thing was that he had comprehended the law of sword. Who left these traces here? Fang Chen was even more puzzled. These traces were definitely not left behind by an ordinary person. Buzz. While Fang Chen was pondering, the 5th level of the sword scripture was naturally formed. The chants of the sword scripture quickly circulated in his body. Then, Fang Chen felt that his mind was filled with the aura of the sword Dao. My strength has increased by 10,000 times. Fang Chen was delighted. The 5th level of the sword scripture had increased his strength by 10,000 times. That was truly a pleasant surprise. I really didn't expect there to be such a harvest. Just discovering a cave had allowed Fang Chen to gain so much. How could he not be happy? While Fang Chen was comprehending the law of sword, the sacred Dragon Mountain Range was also shaking. In a certain region of the sacred Dragon Mountain Range spine, a golden light broke out of the ground and disappeared into the horizon. This scene caused a huge commotion. All the martial artists felt the shock brought about by the golden light. A priceless treasure had appeared. Many martial artists roared as they crazily searched the sacred Dragon Mountain Range. They were certain that the golden light that had broken out of the ground was the priceless treasure they had been searching for. The entire sacred Dragon Mountain Range was in an uproar. On a certain mountain peak, Lu Hang and Guizhi, who were fighting fiercely, had stopped their battle as well. Guizhi, the battle ends here. We'll fight another day, said Lu Hang. What? Are you afraid of Lu He City's Lu Hang? If he lost to a martial artist whose cultivation base was lower than his, wouldn't he be ridiculed? Guizhi teased. He knew that Lu Hang was searching for a priceless treasure, so he was intentionally humiliating him. Chapter 1674. LV Hang wanted to search for the priceless treasure, but Guizhi refused to let him. After we met, you didn't say anything and just directly attacked. Now, you're telling me not to fight. What do you take me, Guizhi, as? A burden to vent your anger? A cold smile hung on Guizhi's black face. He knew LV Hang was very anxious because he was the leader of Green He City's disciples. If it weren't for him, the other Green He City disciples wouldn't be able to obtain the priceless treasure. So no matter what, he had to personally take action. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any chance. Guizhi had also guessed that, and he was purposely tangling with LV Hang. In any case, their Ghost Dragon sect had several senior apprentice brothers. By blocking LV Hang, they would have one less competitor. Guizhi, you're courting death. LV Hang's expression was icy as he suddenly punched. This punch contained a terrifying power of law. Boom. Guizhi also punched, colliding with LV Hang's fist. Space shook, and LV Hang and Guizhi both retreated several steps. The current situation was that neither of them was able to do anything to the other. Although LV Hang's cultivation base was a minor realm higher than Guizhi's methods were inconceivable. Fuck. LV Hang clenched his fists in fury. Even if he went all out, he would only be able to slightly suppress Guizhi. There was no way he could force Guizhi back. Furthermore, time was extremely precious to him. If he wasted any time, the priceless treasure might be snatched away by the other sect. Guizhi, just what do you want? LV Hang suppressed his fury and icily asked. Just tell me what I want. Guizhi grinned. For some unknown reason, seeing LV Hang's gloating expression made Guizhi extremely happy. Guizhi, don't make a mistake. LV Hang's words were somewhat threatening. I want to see just what ability you, LV Hang, have, sneered Guizhi. Suddenly, a strange aura spread out of LV Hang's body. Following that, a strange laser shot out of his eyes. Not good. Guizhi's heart shook. Sensing how terrifying that laser was, he quickly dodged. Boom. The strange laser beam hit the mountain peak, causing it to collapse and turn into ruins. By the time Guizhi stabilized himself, LV Hang had already disappeared. Damn it. To think that this fellow actually has such a method. Guiji cursed. However, he could also conclude that LV Hang could not use this method indefinitely. Otherwise, LV Hang would have used it against him. Strange, that aura just now was completely different from Green He City's. What's going on? Guiji racked his brains. LV Hang used his trump card and successfully escaped from Guiji's entanglement. Following the secret signal left behind by the Luhe City disciples along the way, he quickly went to find them. Before long, LV Hang arrived at a dense forest. However, what he saw were a few corpses. What happened? Lu Hang's face was cold as he walked to the corpse. Someone is targeting our Green He City's disciples. Lu Hang said coldly. Could it be the Heaven Weeping sect? LV Hang briefly checked before continuing his search. At several gathering points, Luhe City's disciples were all killed. Lu Hang was completely enraged. Before he came out this time, he vowed that he would definitely lead the disciples back without any injuries. And now, other than him, all the other disciples of Luhe City had died. Who is it? Lu Hang roared furiously. Swish. However, at this moment, a golden light streaked across the sky. Priceless treasure. Lu Hang's eyes widened and his heartbeat quickened. At this time, he couldn't care about anything else. He leapt up and chased after the golden light. The entire Holy Dragon mountain range was in chaos. Many sect disciples were frantically searching for the priceless treasure. Fang Chen and the 3 Heaven Weeping sect disciples had long since separated. Brother Fang, why did you separate from them? Ju Fa was puzzled. Luhe City's disciples have been killed. If Lu Hang isn't stupid, he'll definitely suspect the Heaven Weeping sect. It's very dangerous for us to be with them, explained Fang Chen. Ju Fa nodded. Brother Fang, are we going to chase after the priceless treasure? Fang Chen shook his head. Let's not talk about whether or not that golden light is a priceless treasure. Even if it is, it's still a hot potato. Once we obtain it, we'll definitely be attacked by everyone. Then we can't give up, said Ju Fa. Wait for the right time. In fact, Fang Chen's idea was correct. Now, everyone's eyes were on the priceless treasure. They were all desperately searching for the priceless treasure and had no desire to continue fighting. This was a delicate balance. Once someone snatched the priceless treasure first, this balance would be broken. At that time, they would definitely become the target of public criticism. And the entire Holy Dragon mountain range would definitely flow with blood. Fang Chen's idea was to wait and reap the benefits. He would wait for them to fight until both sides were injured, and then he would quietly snatch the treasure away. Of course, Fang Chen actually had a trace of doubt in his heart. Was that golden light a priceless treasure or not? The chaos outside did not affect Fang Chen in the cave hundreds of millions of li underground. After comprehending so many kinds of law energies, Fang Chen's strength had increased a lot. Now that he had reached the 4th level of the sword scripture, his strength had increased by 10,000 times. If he used the heavenly imperial sword art now, his power would definitely increase explosively. Now, he was not afraid of even a 3rd level 10,000 ancient realm martial artist. After a short rest, Fang Chen continued to explore. However, at this moment, the cave suddenly trembled. What's going on? Fang Chen asked in a panic. Boss, I think I found a mechanism. Little Mouse's voice came from the side. Fang Chen hurried over and discovered that the little mouse was playing with a protruding rock with its claws under a rock. I accidentally touched the rock and this thing popped out, Little Mouse said. A mechanism. Fang Chen carefully came to the bottom of the rock. Boss, let me try, Little Mouse said. Immediately, his little claws grasped the protruding stone. With a slight force, the stone turned with his claws. Creak. As the stone turned, the cave shook even more violently. It really is a mechanism. Little Mouse was very excited and continued to exert force. However, at this moment, the stone suddenly exploded. Boom. A terrifying force swept Little Mouse. Oh no! Fang Chen was blown out of the rock by the explosion. He shouted loudly and desperately rushed to the bottom of the rock. Crack! The rock turned into fragments and scattered in the cave. With a bang, Little Mouse's body fell heavily to the ground. How is it? Fang Chen ran to Little Mouse's side, very worried. The latter's body was covered in dust and his claws were full of blood. His breath was a little weak, and traces of purple light emerged from his body. Hearing Fang Chen's call, Little Mouse slowly opened his eyes. Cough. Little Mouse coughed twice and grimaced. Boss, is this a fake mechanism? Little Mouse asked. It hurts too much. Fortunately, the body of a godly mouse is strong enough. Otherwise, the terrifying impact just now would have killed me. Little Mouse said with lingering fear. Fang Chen also felt some lingering fear. The impact just now was clearly very strong, and the explosion seemed to have been arranged beforehand. As long as you're fine. He couldn't help but sigh at the tyrannical body of a godly mouse. Boss, I'm fine. Why don't you see what we godly mice eat? Ha ha ha. After a short moment of pain, Little Mouse grinned and laughed. After confirming that Little Mouse was fine, Fang Chen raised his head and carefully examined the fragments of the explosion. While he was puzzled, he also made a shocking discovery. Behind the fragments, he saw traces of a door. That's. Fang Chen quickly walked over, wanting to push open the stone door. Boss, could it be a trap? That fragment just now was definitely a trap. An ordinary martial artist would definitely have been blown away. Fortunately, Little Mouse was here. Let me do it. Little Mouse walked in front of Fang Chen, preparing to help him open the stone door. You're injured, said Fang Chen. Little Mouse laughed mischievously. Boss, we godly mice not only have powerful bodies, but also astonishing recovery abilities. Don't worry, let me do it. After saying that, the little mouse exerted force and pushed the stone door. Chapter 1675. The stone door slowly opened, and nothing unexpected happened. Fang Chen heaved a sigh of relief, and with the power of law surrounding him, he carefully walked through the stone door. After entering the stone door, he saw a large pile of ores. Fang Chen's eyes widened as he looked at the ores. These ores were shining, and contained divine power. Ha ha ha, we're rich. Boss, these are God's spiritual stones. Little Mouse jumped excitedly. God's spiritual stones. Fang Chen was stunned for a moment, and then he was overjoyed. God's spiritual stones were like spirit stones in ancient Sword Continent and purple crystals in the lower realm. It was the common currency of the divine world, and of course, it could be used for cultivation. The divine power in the divine world was very violent, and to absorb it, one needed to be strong enough. This also caused many weak warriors to be unable to absorb the divine power in nature. The divine power in these God spiritual stones was very gentle and suitable for absorption. Of course, only the large sect would be so extravagant as to let their disciples absorb the God spiritual stones for cultivation. Fang Chen had been in the divine world for so long, but he had never seen a God spiritual stone. For eternal realm warriors, God spiritual stones were still relatively rare. Of course, almost all the sect in the northern region had a reserve of God spiritual stones. Looking at the mountain of God spiritual stones, Fang Chen was overjoyed. So many God spiritual stones. He was very excited. God spiritual stones could not only be used for cultivation, but also for other things. In short, without God spiritual stones, it was almost impossible to move an inch in the divine world. With God spiritual stones, one could get the best cultivation environment. These were the reasons why the large sect was getting stronger, and the small sect was getting weaker. Fang Chen roughly estimated that there were at least 1 million God spiritual stones here. We're really rich. Fang Chen laughed. God spiritual stones were divided into low, middle, high, and supreme grade. Similarly, a supreme grade God spiritual stone could be exchanged for 100 high grade God spiritual stones, 10,000 middle grade God spiritual stones, and 1 million low grade God spiritual stones. The pile of divine spiritual stones in front of him, looking at their color and quality, should be low grade divine spiritual stones. It would be great if it was a supreme grade divine spiritual stone. The little mouse pursed its lips. Be content. 1 million lower grade divine spiritual stones. To the current me, It's no different from sending charcoal in snowy weather, Fang Chen said. Immediately, Fang Chen placed the million low-grade divine spirit stones into his spatial ring. A bright smile appeared on his face. These 1 million pieces of low-grade divine spiritual stones were enough to support his cultivation for a short period of time. While all of a sudden, a phantom appeared on the wall of the stone room. This phantom was an expert with a very strong aura. Fated person, when you came here, it means that you have already obtained the 1 million pieces of low-grade divine spiritual stones that I left for you. The illusory figure laughed heartily and said, "This place is a treasure trove. Back then, I really wanted to spend the rest of my life here. What a pity." There was some regret in the illusory figure's words. Want to enter the stone room, you have to comprehend more than 5 kinds of laws from the marks on the outside wall. Only then can you open the stone room. The illusory figure continued, on the path of cultivation, everything has to rely on one's own efforts. Therefore, I didn't leave behind any inheritance, only some trash. Fang Chen was taken aback for a moment. The trash that the illusory figure was talking about was that pile of low-grade divine spiritual stones. Fang Chen was speechless in his heart. Such a precious thing was actually just trash in the eyes of the illusory figure. Don't know if this trash is useful to you or not. In short, I still kept it. The illusory figure continued, if you haven't become a true deity, then you can walk to the left wall and lightly knock 3 times. If you're already a deity, then those things that I left behind are useless to you. If you can't control your curiosity, you'll definitely regret it. The illusory figure spread out his hands and said, after so many years, I'm finally free. I hope that the successor can find a true dragon. After saying this sentence, the illusory figure dissipated. His last sentence had successfully piqued Fang Chen's curiosity. If the successor is looking for a true dragon, could this person be related to the legend of a true dragon? Fang Chen frowned. What did he mean by free? A series of questions floated in his mind. However, Fang Chen still suppressed his curiosity. This was because this powerhouse's personality was just too strange. Boss, let's give it a try. Fang Chen knew that in the divine world, the eternal realm wasn't considered a true deity. He was within the range that the illusory figure had mentioned. Arriving in front of the left wall, he stretched out his hand and hesitated for a moment. Finally, he gently knocked 3 times. Immediately, a secret compartment appeared in the wall. Within this secret compartment was a spatial ring. Fang Chen picked up the spatial ring and dripped his blood to bind it to him. Immediately, he saw the things within the spatial ring. Boss, what's inside? Little Mouse asked curiously. Fang Chen's face was filled with shock. He took a deep breath and said, there are medium-grade divine spiritual stones and high-grade divine spiritual stones inside the spatial ring. In addition, there were top-grade divine spiritual stones. After checking, he found that there were 10,000 medium-grade divine spiritual stones, 100 high-grade divine spiritual stones, and 1 top-grade divine spiritual stone. Fang Chen vaguely felt that this was the number that the powerhouse had deliberately left behind. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so coincidental. Looking at the sparkling divine spiritual stones, Fang Chen's mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. Boss, there's only divine spiritual stones and no divine techniques. Little Mouse continued to ask. Fang Chen continued to check. Suddenly, he found that in the corner of the spatial ring, there was something emitting a golden light. What is this? Fang Chen took out the golden object and showed it to Little Mouse. The latter's eyes widened in excitement. Boss, this is flame dragon marrow. What is flame dragon marrow? Fang Chen asked. Boss, this flame dragon marrow is good stuff. In the beast world, there is a kind of divine beast that has the bloodline of a true dragon. However, they have never been recognized as the flame dragon race. And this flame dragon marrow is the bone marrow of the flame dragon race. The flame dragon race is proud of their hard bones, so there are often powerhouses of the god realm who capture them to refine divine tools. And this flame dragon marrow is even harder than their bones. It is absolutely an excellent material to refine divine tools. Little Mouse smiled. It seems that the powerhouse had put in a lot of thought and left behind some practical things. Flame dragon marrow to find a true dragon. Fang Chen looked at the flame dragon marrow and muttered. What was the connection between these two things? Who was that powerhouse? Fang Chen couldn't figure it out no matter how hard he racked his brains. In the end, he simply stopped thinking about it. He carefully put away the flame dragon marrow and then carefully checked the spatial ring. After confirming that there was nothing else, he said, "There's nothing here. Let's go." After saying that, Fang Chen and Little Mouse left the stone room. However, the moment they left the stone room, a faint golden light appeared out of thin air and then drilled into Fang Chen's body. Dong. The golden heart throbbed, but Fang Chen didn't care. "Boss, do you want to continue comprehending the laws here?" Little Mouse asked. Fang Chen shook his head. He had already comprehended 8 laws. If he continued, it would just be a waste of time. The most important thing right now was to leave this place and see what that golden light was. Fang Chen always felt that everything here was related to the golden light that broke out of the ground. However, he wasn't sure what the specific relationship was. Crash! Fang Chen and Little Mouse broke out of the ground and finally returned to the surface. Fang Chen took a deep breath of fresh air. With a heavy heart, he looked at the sky with his deep eyes. "Boss, what do we do now? Do we go fight for the treasure?" Little Mouse asked. Fang Chen was just about to speak when his expression suddenly changed. "We've run into some trouble." After saying that, he took Little Mouse and disappeared into the void. Not too far away, Fang Chen's main body and Ju Fa just happened to run into LV Hang. "Ju Fa, I didn't expect to meet you here." LV Hang sneered. He still didn't know that the Fang Chen in front of him was the rumored disciple of the South Tomb Sword Palace. "LV Hang, what do you want?" Ju Fa asked. This LV Hang was a genuine hypocrite. "You should know what I want." LV Hang eerily smiled. Ju Fa was a bit anxious. Facing LV Hang, he didn't have the slightest strength to resist. "Brother Ju Fa, think of a way to stall for time." Fang Chen secretly sent a sound transmission. Chapter 1676. LV Hang blocked Ju Fa's path. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to capture him. "Say, if I capture you, can I exchange a city with your Ju family?" LV Hang asked with a smile. He had thought of this when he saw Ju Fa. Everyone kicks a man who is down. Back then, before the Ju family had been driven out, they had been so glorious. How could a weak sect like Green He City dare to show off in front of them? But now, their Ju family branch had left the clan and came to the northern region. Although they still had some influence, they didn't have much deterrence. Ju Fa was the Ju family patriarch's most beloved son. Using him to exchange for some resources of the Ju family was a good idea. In your dreams," Ju Fa said coldly. LV Hang was too shameless. He wanted to capture him to threaten the Ju family. Seeing Ju Fa's reaction, LV Hang laughed. He liked to see other people's flustered and exasperated expressions the most. "I don't have time to waste with you. After capturing you, I still have to snatch the treasure." However, at this moment, Fang Chen, who had been silent all this time, opened his mouth. "You won't have the chance to snatch the treasure," Fang Chen said. "Whether or not you can leave this place safely is another matter altogether." "Who are you? How dare you talk to me like this?" LV Hang's face darkened. Whoosh! The sound of something breaking through the air came from the distance. Suddenly, a ripple appeared behind LV Hang. Following this, a terrifying fist glow whizzed through the air. Bang! Seeing this, LV Hang hurriedly raised his fist to block. Although he blocked in time, he was still forced back by the fist. After stabilizing his body, he turned his head and saw a figure appear behind him. "I was wondering why a first-layer Eternal Realm trash dared to challenge me. It turns out that reinforcements have arrived." LV Hang sneered. "Do you think that with reinforcements, I'm afraid of you?" The person who had come was naturally Fang Chen's clone. In order not to attract attention, he had changed his appearance slightly. "Is that so? I'm afraid you won't be able to walk out of here today," Fang Chen said indifferently. Seeing Fang Chen's nonchalant expression, LV Hang was furious. "Brat, I want to see how you'll block my, Lu Hang's, attack. Lu Hang sneered, although he had used his trump card on Gui Ji. However, a mere first-level Eternal Realm cultivator was nothing in his eyes. Then you'll have to see clearly. As soon as Fang Chen's actual body finished speaking, his figure disappeared into the void. Lu Hang was rather surprised, not expecting that this boy's concealment means were so tyrannical. Dream laws. LV Hang could sense a hint of the power of the laws of illusions. This alone isn't enough to deal with me, LV Hang. Before LV Hang could finish speaking, he felt a terrifying power coming from behind him. Fang Chen exerted all his strength and punched out. His entire body was instantly filled with an extremely dense law of force. Dong Fang Chen was secretly speechless as he repelled Lu Hang with one punch. As expected of the law of force, to be able to increase one's physical strength so much. Fang Chen said to himself. The power of his punch was comparable to that of a second-level Eternal Realm expert. In other words, he could crush a second-level Eternal Realm martial artist with pure strength. If he used a divine skill, even a third-level Eternal Realm martial artist would be no match for him. LV Hang's cultivation was very high, at the 5th level Eternal Realm. However, Fang Chen did not use his doppelganger yet. He wanted to see how strong he was in a one-on-one fight. Your strength is not bad, but that's all. LV Hang licked his dry lips and attacked with lightning speed. Rumble. The rich law of force around LV Hang condensed into a fire dragon. The fire dragon contained a terrifying power. The fire dragon spun in the sky at an astonishing speed. Brother Fang, be careful. This is Lu He City's divine skill, Heaven Extinguishing Fire Dragon, Ju Fa warned loudly. Heaven Extinguishing Fire Dragon? That's all there is to it. Fang Chen looked up at the fire dragon in the sky and took out the star-concealing sword. Whoosh! Displaying the heavenly imperial sword art, tens of thousands of sword lights instantly shot out. The law of sword was attached to each sword light, increasing the power of the sword light by 100 times. Facing LV Hang's full attack, Fang Chen did not dare to hold back. Crack! The fire dragon in the sky rushed into the tens of thousands of sword lights in an instant. Cracking sounds could be heard as the sword lights continued to shatter. Fang Chen had long realized this, so his doppelganger also attacked. Swoosh! A red light shot out from his doppelganger. The red glass sword was unsheathed and the sharp blade cut through the sky, carrying with it a terrifying law of sword. The doppelganger and the doppelganger attacked from the front and back. The 5th level of the sword scripture was activated and the law of sword was integrated into the law of sword. Vaguely, a sword domain formed in front of Fang Chen. In this domain, Fang Chen was absolutely invincible. You're courting death. The Heaven Extinguishing Fire Dragon was activated to the extreme. One fire dragon after another floated in the sky, blocking Fang Chen's attack. Dong! Every time the fire dragon and the sword light collided, the ground would tremble. Damn it, how can a trash of the first level of the Eternal Realm explode with such power? LV Hang thought as he attacked. He concluded that Fang Chen must have a secret. If I can get my hands on his secrets, my strength will definitely soar. LV Hang's killing intent surged. He jumped up, surrounded by fire dragons, and appeared in front of Fang Chen. Kill! LV Hang roared, his aura shaking the sky. As expected of a 5th level of the Eternal Realm martial artist. Fang Chen sighed inwardly. Even if the doppelganger and the doppelganger joined forces, they could not defeat LV Hang. LV Hang's attack was beyond Fang Chen's expectation. The gap between the Eternal Realm and the doppelganger was huge. After a few hundred attacks, LV Hang was finally angered. Die! LV Hang's eyes were scarlet as he displayed a shocking attack. Fang Chen had no choice but to escape into the void. Catcher a crack appeared in the void. LV Hang's attack was too strong. Bastard, don't run if you have the guts. LV Hang cursed. Do you think I'm an idiot? If you have the ability, suppress your cultivation to the 1st level of the Eternal Realm. Let's have a fair fight. Fang Chen's voice came from the void. Hearing this, Lu Hang looked up to the sky and roared, madly attacking the surrounding void. Fang Chen would sneak attack LV Hang whenever he had the chance. A fifth level of the Eternal Realm has a strong defense. It's not realistic to rely on sneak attacks to break through my defense. After a fierce battle, Fang Chen had a rough understanding of his own combat strength. Then, he took out the Dark Demonic Wheel. Buzz! He activated the Dark Demonic Wheel. Suddenly, a vast power emerged from it and swept across the land. Darkness enveloped the land. LV Hang felt his primordial spirit tremble. He widened his eyes and looked at Fang Chen, who was covered in darkness. What kind of attack is this? LV Hang's body trembled as he quickly retreated. His intuition told him that this attack was too strange and could not be resisted. Heaven Extinguishing Fire Dragon Art. LV Hang used all his strength to execute the Heaven Extinguishing Fire Dragon Art. Suddenly, 9 fire dragons appeared in the sky, spewing scorching flames as they attacked the dark aura. Crack! Without any resistance, the 9 fire dragons were all extinguished. Run! Seeing this, LV Hang leaped and disappeared into the void. Hiss! The extremely tyrannical dark aura gradually dissipated in the void. Fang Chen's face was pale as he put away the Dark Demonic Wheel. Although I won't faint, it's still a bit strenuous to activate the Dark Demonic Wheel, Fang Chen said. Ju Fa ran over and asked, Brother Fang, are you okay? In fact, Ju Fa was also shocked. He did not expect Fang Chen to be so strong that he could force LV Hang to retreat. A first level of the Eternal Realm had forced a fifth level of the Eternal Realm to retreat. Even he felt inferior. I'm fine. Let's go. Although LV Hang had escaped, it would not take long for him to react. His Dark Demonic Wheel had a time limit and could not be activated for a long time. Once he returned, he would be in danger. Let's go. Ju Fa supported Fang Chen and quickly left. About a quarter of an hour later, the furious LV Hang returned. Seeing the empty land, LV Hang's anger burned. Damn it! The next time we meet, I will make sure you die without a burial ground. LV Hang said angrily. If it wasn't for Gui Ji, who could compete with him when he used his trump card? The furious LV Hang did not lose his mind. Chapter 1677. The golden light appeared many times in the sacred Dragon Mountain range. Finally, on the 9th appearance, it was obtained by a disciple of the Heaven Weeping sect. Ha ha ha, I got the treasure. The disciple of the Heaven Weeping sect laughed wildly. In his hand was a golden ball of light. He didn't even have time to see what was inside the ball of light before he was attacked by other cultivators. Put down the treasure. You are not qualified to get it. Kill him and snatch the treasure. Die for me. In an instant, countless attacks landed on the disciple of the Heaven Weeping sect. Crack! Without any resistance, the disciple of the Heaven Weeping sect was killed instantly. After his death, there was a frozen smile on his face. In the sacred Dragon Mountain range, all the cultivators were paying attention to the treasure. Once someone obtained it, they would have to bear the anger of others. Kill. After killing the disciple of the Heaven Weeping sect, a cultivator obtained the ball of light. Suddenly, the battle became chaotic. All the cultivators joined the battle. Fang Chen, who was hiding in the distance, sighed inwardly. Right now, this treasure is definitely a hot potato. No matter who obtains it, they will not end up well, Fang Chen thought to himself. To obtain the treasure, he had to reap the benefits. Buzz! The golden heart suddenly pounded. Following it, a golden glow flickered inside his body. Fang Chen didn't pay attention to it. His gaze was fixed on the battlefield. Poochie. One cultivator after another fell into a pool of blood. Their deaths were very cruel. Fang Chen couldn't bear to watch. Brother Fang, after experiencing so much, you won't feel anything. Ju Fa said calmly. It seemed that he had experienced a lot. In fact, it wasn't that Fang Chen hadn't experienced such a bloody storm. However, Fang Chen sighed inwardly. Eternal Realm cultivators were supreme existences in the lower realms. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call them ancestors. Yet, in the God world, so many Eternal Realm experts had fallen in a casual battle. This made Fang Chen realize that eternal realm cultivators couldn't establish themselves in the divine world. Unless he became a true god, his life would be in danger at any time. Fang Chen nodded and said, "Brother Ju Fa, let's not participate in the supreme treasure. With my strength, even if I try to snatch the supreme treasure, I'll just be courting death. This time's tempering is over. It's time for me to return," Ju Fa said. However, to be able to witness such a brilliant battle before returning, this trip was not in vain. Fang Chen was about to speak when he saw Lu Hang. LV Hang's body carried a monstrous aura as he instantly rushed into the battlefield. Kill. The supreme treasure is mine. Lu Hang's eyes were scarlet as he smashed a heaven-weeping sect disciple who had just obtained a supreme treasure with a punch. Then, he held the supreme treasure in his hand. LV Hang, you're courting death. In just a short while, the heaven-weeping gate had already lost several disciples. The golden-haired martial artist rushed over. When he saw this scene, he bared his teeth. My heavenly weeping sect will fight to the death with you, LV Hang. However, LV Hang simply couldn't care that much. With the supreme treasure in hand, LV Hang was very excited. Besiege Lu Hang. Suddenly, someone shouted. Among them was Guizhi. LV Hang, hand over the supreme treasure. Guizhi's body surged with a black aura as he said coldly. Seeing Guizhi, LV Hang's face was gloomy. Guizhi, are you going to stop me? LV Hang asked. At this time, whoever persisted until the end would be the winner. LV Hang had obtained the supreme treasure with great difficulty. He would never give it up. You alone can't protect the supreme treasure. Guizhi smiled sinisterly. Kill. The people of the Black Dragon sect also arrived. The supreme treasure belongs to my Black Dragon sect. The experts of the Black Dragon sect carried a terrifying aura. As soon as they appeared, they caused everyone to tremble. Run. LV Hang did not hesitate as he suddenly punched out, creating a chaotic situation, and then took the opportunity to escape. Kill LV Hang. The purpose of everyone's battle was the supreme treasure. Now that the supreme treasure was gone, the battle was naturally over. LV Hang, you can't escape. Guizhi laughed sinisterly and immediately chased. In the sacred Dragon Mountain range, a chase unfolded. LV Hang relied on his experience to quickly escape. Behind him, Guizhi and the disciples of the Black Dragon sect aggressively chased. Rumble, in the dense forest, there would be earth-shattering sounds from time to time. Every once in a while, LV Hang would be stopped and a battle would erupt. Poochie, finally, after being stopped once, LV Hang was besieged by the disciples of the Black Dragon sect. He was heavily injured and the supreme treasure was snatched away. Leave the supreme treasure behind. Guizhi quickly rushed over and roared furiously. Countless disciples of the sect changed their target to the disciples of the Black Dragon sect. No one cared about the heavily injured LV Hang. He secretly snuck behind a hidden bluestone and sat on the ground. Whoosh, damn it, the supreme treasure is mine. LV Hang said solemnly. He was unwilling to give up. But right now, he had to work hard to heal his injuries. Once his injuries were healed, he would fight for the supreme treasure. You have no chance. Fang Chen appeared behind LV Hang like a ghost. Who? LV Hang turned pale with fright. When he saw Fang Chen, a vicious light flashed in his eyes. It's you. You didn't expect this, did you? Fang Chen smiled at LV Hang. Ju Fa appeared at the right time. Fang Chen walked over to LV Hang, not concealing his killing intent. Ju Fa, if you dare touch me, aren't you afraid that my Green Union City will exterminate your Ju family? LV Hang threatened Ju Fa. Ju Fa sneered, even now, you still dare to threaten me? Boom. As Fang Chen approached, LV Hang sent out a punch. Bang. He wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to escape, but he was overthinking it. His punch didn't cause any harm to Fang Chen. Just as he was about to flee, there was a loud bang as Fang Chen suddenly appeared and sent him flying with a punch. Despicable bastard, if you have the ability, then wait until I'm healed and we'll have a fair fight, roared LV Hang. Hearing LV Hang's words, Fang Chen wanted to cry. A fair fight is ridiculous. Your cultivation is at the 5th level of the eternal ancient realm, while I'm only at the 1st level. This fight is unfair, said Fang Chen indifferently. If you dare touch me, Green Union City won't let you off. At this point, LV Hang could only use Green Union City to scare Fang Chen and Zhu Fa. Unfortunately, the two of them weren't afraid of him. LV Hang, you have the ambition of a wolf. You actually tried to capture me to threaten the Zhu family. If I, Zhu Fa, don't kill you, how can I survive in the northern region? Zhu Fa took a step forward and arrived beside LV Hang. If you want to kill me, LV Hang, you'll have to pay the price. Lu Hang laughed wildly as a terrifying aura gushed out from his body. Not good. Zhu Fa shouted in his heart and wanted to retreat. Buzz. Fang Chen tried to activate the grey aura attached to the true meaning of time and space. Poochie. Fang Chen cut through LV Hang's aura like tofu. The grey aura instantly swallowed up LV Hang's aura. Then, LV Hang's body was shredded without any resistance. I can't accept this. LV Hang roared before he died. Zhu Fa's scalp went numb. The grey aura just now made him feel extremely uneasy, as if his primordial spirit was being burned. It was a deep tremor. Even when facing his father, he didn't have such a terrifying feeling. He glanced at Fang Chen with lingering fear. Fortunately, they were friends and not enemies. Not to mention Zhu Fa, even Fang Chen's heart was shaken. What is that grey aura? Why is it so powerful? Fang Chen just wanted to test the grey aura attached to the true meaning of time and space, but it erupted with such amazing power. In that instant, Fang Chen felt that the beating of his golden heart had become rapid. What a wonderful feeling. Fang Chen closed his eyes and carefully sensed the remaining aura in the air. At that moment, he felt that the true meaning of time and space was like a fish in water in his hands. It was like the first ray of light from the beginning of the world. It was extremely shocking. Brother Fang, I admire you. At this moment, Zhu Fa cupped his fists and said. He had regained his calm, and his face was full of admiration. LV Hang was ambitious. Not only did he want to capture me, but he also wanted to deal with Brother Fang. Now that he's dead, he deserves it, Zhu Fa said. Fang Chen nodded. He didn't think too much about LV Hang's death. His mind was full of the scene just now, racking his brain. Chapter 1678. Zhu Fa was clearly wrong. The reason Fang Chen was frowning wasn't because he was worried about being discovered by Green He City after killing Lu Hang. Instead, he was pondering what the grey aura attached to the spacetime true intent was. Why was it so powerful? No matter how he thought about it, he still couldn't figure it out. In the end, he stopped thinking about it. Brother Fang, the fight for the treasure seems to have reached its final stage. Should we take action? Asked Zhu Fa. With Zhu Fa's strength, he naturally wouldn't be involved in the fight for the treasure. However, if Fang Chen was added into the mix, things would be different. Zhu Fa's gaze was fixed on Fang Chen, waiting for his decision. Listening carefully, he could faintly hear the sounds of fighting not far away. Forget it. Let's not get involved, said Fang Chen after thinking for a moment. Zhu Fa nodded, although he was somewhat unwilling. However, in front of him, he had no choice but to submit. If that's the case, let's leave this place first, said Zhu Fa. Fang Chen nodded and left with Zhu Fa. In the chaotic battlefield, Guizhi was holding a ball of light. He wanted to flee, but he was besieged by everyone. You're courting death. My ghost dragon sect won't let you off, roared Guizhi. The treasure belongs to my black dragon sect. The black dragon sect's disciples were the first to bear the brunt. The entire battlefield was extremely chaotic. With the help of the ghost dragon sect, Guizhi was barely able to escape. Continuing like this wasn't a solution. Guizhi's expression was incomparably gloomy. As long as they could leave the 100,000 mountains, they wouldn't dare provoke the ghost dragon sect. However, this was the sacred dragon mountain range. The upper echelons of the sect wouldn't be able to rush over. They could only rely on themselves. Senior apprentice brother Guizhi, what should we do? A disciple beside Guizhi hurriedly asked. Under the siege of everyone, the ghost dragon sect's disciples were forced to retreat. Pucci, just as they were asking Guiji, several of their disciples were killed by the black dragon sect's disciples. Cover me. Guiji clenched his teeth. As long as he could safely return the treasure to his sect, even if he lost a few disciples, it wouldn't matter. By time for senior apprentice brother Guiji, the ghost dragon sect's disciples roared as they desperately blocked the attacks of the other sect's disciples. Pucci, the battle became more and more intense. One by one, the ghost dragon sect's disciples fell into a pool of blood. Taking advantage of the chaos, Guiji's figure flashed and fled. Don't let Guiji escape. The black dragon sect's disciples took the initiative to attack Guiji. At this moment, Guiji had already fled far away. Seeing the golden light in his hand, a sinister smile appeared on Guiji's face. As long as Guiji was able to escape, he would be able to easily leave the 10,000 huge mountains. Swoosh, however, just as Guiji was in high spirits, he suddenly felt a gust of wind blowing in front of him. Then, he subconsciously clenched his fists. Instantly, he was shocked to discover that the golden ball of light in his palm had already disappeared without a trace. Damn it, who is it? Guiji roared furiously as he scanned his surroundings. Clenching his fists tightly, he frantically attacked the void around him. However, no matter how he attacked, he couldn't find anything. Not long after, the black dragon sect's disciples hurried over. They had Guiji surrounded in the center. Guiji, hand over the treasure, said a black dragon sect's disciple coldly. Guiji, you've seen it too. If you don't hand over the treasure, you won't be able to escape. That's right. Hand over the treasure and you'll still have a chance to live. Otherwise, only death awaits you. The surrounding cultivators all spoke out. They stared at Guiji with burning gazes, ready to attack at any moment. Guiji's face was cold. He had a bellyful of resentment that he had nowhere to vent. The treasure has been snatched away, said Guiji in a deep voice as he resisted the anger in his heart. Mate, don't make a fool of yourself with such petty tricks. That's right. When we arrived here, no one discovered it. Tell us, who snatched away your treasure? Guiji, your lies are too lacking. Many cultivators didn't believe Guiji's words. They felt that it was an excuse from Guiji. He knew that he wouldn't be able to escape the pursuit of these people, so he deliberately stayed here to deceive them. Unfortunately, for the sake of the treasure, they didn't care about that. I'm telling the truth. Just now, someone in the void stole my treasure, said Guiji angrily. One of the black dragon sect's disciples stepped forward and stared at Guiji. Guiji, with your strength, you were able to fight Lu Hang to a draw. Among the people present, no one was confident that they could steal the treasure from your hands without anyone noticing. According to what you said, the person who stole it was at least a high-level 10,000 ancient realm expert. The Black Dragon sect's disciple paused for a moment before continuing, but everyone knows that there are no high-level 10,000 ancient realm experts among the disciples who entered the sacred dragon mountain range this time. Everyone nodded in agreement with the Black Dragon sect disciples' words. If you don't hand over the treasure today, don't even think about leaving this place alive. After saying that, some people couldn't hold themselves back and attacked. At the tail end of the sacred dragon mountain range, Fang Chen's true body and Ju Fa were rushing over at full speed, preparing to leave the 100,000 mountains. Brother Fang, once we leave the 100,000 mountains, why don't you come visit my Ju family? Asked Ju Fa. Fang Chen pondered for a moment before nodding. He made such a decision for a reason. First, he had just arrived in the divine world and was unfamiliar with everything here. He might be able to get the information he wanted from the Ju family. Second, the most important thing so far was to go to the Skybone Palace. Fang Chen hoped to leave the extreme south through the Ju family. Brother Fang, which power are you from? Asked Ju Fa curiously. I'm a rogue cultivator, said Fang Chen. Ju Fa was full of admiration. I really admire Brother Fang. A rogue cultivator can grow to such a level. While Ju Fa and Fang Chen were chatting, Ju Fa's doppelganger had quietly returned to his body. At this time, a smile appeared on Fang Chen's face. The 100,000 mountains was very vast. After half a month, Fang Chen and Zhu Fa walked out of the sacred Dragon Mountain range. Whoosh, Zhu Fa took a deep breath and a smile appeared on his face. There were many powerful auras outside the sacred Dragon Mountain range. Fang Chen was a little puzzled. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Zhu Fa's voice. Father. Looking in the direction of Zhu Fa's voice, there were several groups of experts in the wasteland ahead. One of them should be experts from the Zhu family's branch. A middle-aged man exuding a luxurious aura saw Zhu Fa and took a step forward, arriving beside him. Fa, are you all right? Asked Zhu Hua. Father, I'm fine. Zhu Fa smiled. By the way, Father, let me introduce you. This is my good brother. His name is Fang Chen. During this experimental training in the 100,000 mountains, it was thanks to Brother Fang that I was able to return safely. Many thanks. Zhu Hua cupped his fists towards Fang Chen. It was nothing. Fang Chen nodded. Let's go back. Zhu Hua glanced at the other powers in the wasteland, then left with Zhu Fa and Fang Chen. As time passed, the experts who were fighting for the supreme treasure also returned. Look, someone's coming out. All of a sudden, one of the experts said. Immediately, the faces of the ghost dragon sect's elders turned gloomy. That was because they saw Guizhi covered in blood. His aura was weak. Guizhi. An elder quickly went to support Guizhi. What happened? Another elder asked. Who was it that injured you like this? Not long after Guizhi came out, more cultivators appeared one after another. Among them, the Black Dragon sect's disciples roared furiously when they saw Guizhi. Guizhi, bring out the supreme treasure. Guizhi, who was supported by the elders, instantly fainted due to his injuries and his running through the night. Supreme treasure. The eyes of the other sect's elders lit up when they heard the word supreme treasure. What happened? Elder Black, the supreme treasure of the sacred Dragon Mountain range appeared, but it was snatched away by Guizhi, said a Black Dragon sect's disciple. The elders of Green He City and the other powers all looked at the Ghost Dragon sect.